Mr. Sergeant of Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. I hereby declare the House of Representatives of the 114th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee now in session. Will the members please stand? Will the visitors in the gallery please stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance? Representative Alexander will serve as chaplain of the day. Representative Alexander.
Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so in awe of you this morning that we can come and sit at your feet. We praise you for who you are, that you loved us enough to send your one and only Son to die on the cross for us, even when we did not deserve it. We honor you today. We invite you in this place. May we be a people that seeks your face, that seeks your wisdom, that seeks your righteousness. Guide us in all we do. Thank you for being with us through this session. And we thank you in advance for you will go with us as we leave this place. For it is in thy precious and holy name we ask these things. Amen.
Representative Alexander, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Roll call.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 93 members present.
Let the journal reflect Representative Lynn is excused. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Welcoming, honoring, and announcements.
Representative Freeman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to welcome, honor, announce, I guess, whatever we want to call it. Today is Earth Day, and Earth Day started 1970 on this day, and every year there is a theme. This year's theme is working to triple renewable energy by 2030. So happy Earth Day, everyone.
Thank you. Representative Carringer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to take a minute to wish my little granddaughter, Olivia Scarlett Carringer, a very happy 7th birthday.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Speaker. On this Earth Day, as was mentioned, I want to honor the Boxtown Neighborhood Association, Westwood Neighborhood Association, folks in 38109 in our district in particular, who continue to fight for clean air because clean air is a human right, against Elon Musk XAI plant and the Tennessee Valley Authority's pollution and desire to increase the amount of gas turbines in their area by 6. Today is also a special day because it's my Uncle Nate's mom's birthday. So I want to wish Mama Cole a very happy birthday as she celebrates 91 years, I believe, today. And to the godmom of my beloved fiance, Oceanae Argillium, Patty, who's in Los Angeles. We just want to wish you a very, very happy birthday and know so much has been going on, but that you're an inspiration and a motivation to us all. Thank you.
Representative Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And today I come to you in duress of physical harm. My intern has made it clear that if I do not recognize her on the floor today, that I will not be allowed back in my office. So today I want to recognize my intern, Umaya Ward from Fisk University. She has done an outstanding job in my office. She has made it worth coming in every day. And so I want to thank her. So would y'all please give her a round of applause. Thank you, Umaya.
Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of the tough things about being down here in the month of April is I missed my 14-year-old's birthday. Affectionately known as baby girl. My daughter Caitlin turns 14 today. She loves volleyball, she loves softball, and she wants to be here working with you all one day. So please wish Caitlin Grace Hawk a happy 14th birthday.
Representative Kiesling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I want to begin by thanking Tammy Letzer because it was in April of 23. I turned to Tammy to recommend to me for our House district an intern, or not an intern, but excuse me, but an executive assistant. Tammy did a great job. She recommended Emily Johnson, and to our right up here, Emily, I wanted to honor her today. She has been with us since May of 23. Emily, you have done an outstanding job for us throughout all 5 counties. Emily is headed to New York City, to the New York Law School. This will be her last session. I'm saddened, but I would ask each and every one of you all to join me in thanking her for a job well done. Thank you, Emily.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am honored to be joined this morning by Representative Hale. And we are, if everybody would join us today and rise in honor of the loss of a loved one of my best friend and law partner's grandmother, Miss Tommy Jean Clemens, a lifelong resident of Smith County, passed away early this morning, affectionately referred to by her grandchildren as Meemaw. Her husband had just passed away just over a year ago, and Representative Hale and this body named a highway for him up there in Smith County. So if you'd all join us for a moment of silence, remembering Miss Tommy Jean Clemens. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Brooks.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I want to honor the victims of the Waffle House mass shooting, a day that was so painful and continue to be painful after 7 years later, where I lost my son and started this movement, and why I'm here today. I wanted to stay home and just cry and just remember my son, but I remember saying to him that when he was laying there motionless, that I was going to do everything in my power to honor him with action. That's why I came in today, because this is a part of it. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for a moment of silence for the victims of Waffle House mass shooting.
Thank you. Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too wanted to thank Representative Glenn's intern for putting up with an entire year of his suits. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Campley and I would like to have you help us welcome 2 of Lawrence County's finest, Mr. Lawrence Sutton and Chris Stutz, that are up here in the gallery. We're glad to have them here today, and let's make them feel welcome.
Welcome, honor announcements. Chairman White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our friend that many of you know, Jenny Verner Marshall, she asked me to make this announcement. A family friend of theirs, they had a 15-year-old, a friend of theirs had a 15-year-old son, and he was murdered on Easter Sunday working in a store in his neighborhood in the Berkeley area. And she said he was a gentle giant, didn't say much, but he loved his mom and sister. And she wanted us to remember Michael Aguilar, one of a young man in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, this morning we had budget sub as well as full finance. And at the end of those meetings, we thanked all of our staff and thanked them for the hard work they did. But we did inadvertently leave a group of folks off that we do want to say thank you to our Sergeant of Arms. We want to say thank you all for all your all's hard work and thank you for what you do. Thank you.
Representative Salinas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we remember the great Pope Francis, I wanted to highlight some of his words of wisdom on today for Earth Day. As stewards of God's creation, we are called to make the earth a beautiful garden for the human family. When we destroy our forests, ravage our soil, and pollute our seas, we betray the noble calling. So may the relationship between man and nature be not driven by greed to manipulate and exploit, but may be divine harmony between beginnings of the creation be conserved in the logic of respect and care. I think that it's important as lawmakers we keep those wise words in our hearts and in our actions.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have to give a shout out also to my intern, Spencer Webb. He's a student at Austin Peay University. He's proof that Austin Peay is doing great things, educating future leaders of the state of Tennessee. He has endured a lot of ribbing from my staff and has been a great intern for the House Democratic Caucus. So I just want to honor Mr. Spencer Webb. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Welcoming, honoring, and announcements. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction to resolutions.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That all resolutions properly filed be introduced pursuant to Order number 17 and placed on the consent calendar referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Joint Resolutions Congratulatory and Memorializing.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That all Senate joint resolution congratulatory and memorializing and liability be placed on the consent calendar pursuant to Order number 17.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Resolutions lying over.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That all resolutions lined over be referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction to bills. Senate bills on first consideration. Senate bills on second consideration. House bills on second consideration. Petitions and memorials. Reports from standing committees. Reports from select committees. Calendars. Mr. Speaker, the House has a consent calendar 1 and 2. Chair Lady Moody, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of the consent calendar 1 and 2 on third and final consideration in keeping with Rule 50.
Chair Lady Moody moves passage of the consent calendar number 1 and number 2. Probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, any objections been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no objections filed.
Anyone seeking recognition on the consent calendar? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All members in favor of the consent calendar, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 94, no nays, 1 present, I vote.
Having received a constitutional majority, I declare consent calendar passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Members in the gallery, just please remember you cannot be blocking someone's view. You have to remain seated. If you cannot remain seated, you may be removed. That's your first warning. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we take up House Message Calendar 2 at this time.
Without objection, so ordered. Call up the first message, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill 212 by Chairman Howell, specialty license plates. Mr. Speaker, on April 21st, 2025, the Senate substituted House Bill 212 for Senate Bill 203, adopted Amendment 2, and passed House Bill 212 as amended.
Chairman Howell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment creates a 100th year anniversary license plate, and I move to consent and concur to Senate Amendment Number 2.
Chairman Howell moves to concur in Senate Amendment Number 2. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment Number 2 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 94, no nays.
Senate Amendment Number 2, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare concurred in without objection. The motion reads series table. Call up next message, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, item 2 on message calendar 2, House Bill 411 by Chairman Sapicki and others relative to didn't care. Mr. Speaker, on April 21st, 2025, the Senate substituted House Bill 411 for Senate Bill 1426, adopted Amendment 2, and passed House Bill 411 as amended.
Chairman Sapicki, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I move to concur with Senate Amendment 2.
Chairman Sapicki moves to concur in Senate Amendment Number 2. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you give us a brief description of what that amendment is doing?
Chairman Sapicki.
Thank you for the question. Yes, I will. This was the legislation that we passed on pandas, the diagnosed condition of children. All the Senate did was name it after the young man named Luca. So it's just Luca's bill now. That's all it is.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sponsor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Amendment Number 2 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 97, no nays.
Senate Amendment Number 2, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare concurred in without objection. The motion reads series table. Mr. Clerk, call up next message.
Mr. Speaker, item 3, House Bill 1097 by Chairman Zachary and others relative to local government. Mr. Speaker, on April 21st, 2025, the Senate substituted House Bill 1097 for Senate Bill 845, adopted Amendment 3, and passed House Bill 1097 as amended.
Deputy Speaker Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to non-concur.
Without objection, we non-concur. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to take up House Message Calendar 1 at this time.
Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Clerk, call up next message.
Mr. Speaker, since this calendar was issued and the amendment was sent to the members, we have received an additional message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, on Monday, April 21st, 2025, the Senate returned House Bill 1127 with a message that Senate bill passed as amended. The message was inaccurate. House Bill 1127 passed the Senate unamended on Monday, April 21st, 2025, signed by the Chief Clerk of the Senate. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the body doesn't need to take any further action on this bill.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to take up the regular calendar that we left off of from yesterday.
Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Clerk, call up next bill.
Speaker, the body is ready for item 74 on that calendar. House Bill 322 with Chairman Todd relative to criminal offenses. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 392.
Chairman Todd moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 392, probably seconded without objection, so ordered. Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 392 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Todd moves passage of Senate Bill 392 on third and final consideration, probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Chairman Farmer moves it. Okay. Chairman Farmer moves adoption of amendment number 1. Proper motion, probably seconded. All those in favor of adopting committee amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next minute, Mr. Clerk. Chairman Farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we need to reconsider our actions in regards to adopting the last amendment proposed.
Proper motion, probably seconded. Reconsider actions on adopting amendment number 1 without objection. So ordered. Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next minute, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, we have Amendment 2 by Representative Bain. Mr. Speaker, it was not timely filed.
Representative Bain, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment would expand the legal exemption to include non-Tennessee attorneys and other legal workers that are providing counsel and ensuring due process for those trying to acquire their U.S. citizenship, for example. And with that, I motion to Adopt the amendment.
Adopt. Yep. Representative Bain moves adoption of amendment number 2. Oh, consideration. I'm
I
sorry.
move for consideration.
My
Thank you.
bad. You've heard the motion, probably second. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 2. All those in favor of considering amendment number 2, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 25, 72 nays.
In accordance with Rule 60B, having failed to receive the necessary two-thirds vote, the motion to consider amendment number 2 fails. Let the journal reflect. Representative Travis is excused. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 3 by Representative Bain, Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Bain, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment removes nonprofit organizations from the Attorney General's dissolution power so that churches like the Hispanic Baptist Church of Hendersonville, the Cumberland Hispanic Fellowship in Crossville, and the Catholic Church, St. Mary's Catholic Church in Jackson, Tennessee, cannot be dissolved by the Attorney General's offices for providing services to immigrants. And with that, I am moved for consideration.
You heard the motion, probably second. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 3. All those in favor of considering amendment number 3, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 27, 68 nays.
In accordance with Rule 60B, having failed to receive the necessary two-thirds vote, the motion to consider amendment number 3 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we had over 25,000 unaccompanied children shipped into our state alone, and over 300,000 around the country.
Hey, Chairman Todd, hang on. Members in the gallery, if I hear hissing one more time, I will remove the whole section if I cannot determine who it is. That's the final warning. Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
I appreciate that, Mr. Speaker. These children went to folks unknown. Many of them still are unaccounted for. We don't know what happened to them. This is such a tragedy to happen under our noses in our states, and we as legislators didn't make that decision. We did not determine that this could happen. This was done by the previous administration federally with no notice to us, no permission granted, and again, no accountability. Many of these are being trafficked right now for unimaginable things. What this bill does, it establishes a law that will allow our district attorneys, our law enforcement, to catch folks before they get into a smuggling situation, a trafficking situation, by catching the perpetrators when they're actually in the act of smuggling. Right now, it's very difficult until they're in the act of trafficking. And so this fills that gap because many of these victims are willing participants in the smuggling part. They're maybe even paying to get from one location to the other, but they don't realize that they are about to be in a criminal activity. Many of these are run by our cartels in other countries. It's a huge money-making opportunity for them. And this particular bill deals with smuggling, not only the crossing of international borders, but as well as transporting large numbers of victims by an organization or criminal enterprise. Trafficking, which is already illegal, is typically committed by a family member or someone close to the victim. Human smuggling in this bill is a Class E felony, and it includes transporting of individuals for commercial advantage or financial gain. Creates a Class A misdemeanor for hiding or harboring an individual who is illegally present in the U.S., and it defines harbor as providing shelter or concealing the whereabouts of an individual who is known to have illegally entered or remained in this country. I believe, members, it is our duty to protect these victims, to protect the innocent. And this is a tool to do that. And with that, I'll be glad to take any questions.
Chairman Todd renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just had a question. I didn't get a chance to ask it in committee. If an individual is married to an undocumented individual, will this bill cause them to be charged with harboring?
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the definition in the bill is a person commits the offense of human smuggling if it's for commercial or financial gain. Then harboring is defined as to provide shelter or to conceal the whereabouts of an individual whom the person knows has illegally entered or remained in the United States as determined by the Bureau of Immigration and Customs Enforcement of the United States Department of Homeland Security. There are two exceptions that are in this. One is an attorney licensed and admitted to the practice of law in the state to provide bona fide legal services to an individual, or a person to provide healthcare services or assistance to an individual presenting at a healthcare facility licensed under our code.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Sponsor. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand the way that you defined it, an individual that is married to an undocumented person and the home is owned by the American, would that be considered sheltering the undocumented individual?
Chairman Todd.
I'm not going to surmise on a hypothetical. I'm just reading the actual language of the bill, what it does. And so I'm going to have to leave it at that.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Sponsor, thank you. And I'm not asking you to surmise on a hypothetical. You know, these are actual human lives, not hypotheticals. There are individuals that may be married in Tennessee to an individual that's undocumented. And I'm not trying to put you in the spot. I'm just trying to answer a question, get an answer to a question that was given to me that I wanted to ask in committee, but the conversation was cut off, so I didn't get a chance to ask it in committee. I would much have preferred to ask this in committee. And so that's what I'm just trying to get an answer so that those individuals that are in this situation can actually have an answer based on this legislation.
Chairman Todd.
And thank you, Mr. Speaker. So these two go together. So the human smuggling, knowingly transporting with the intent to conceal from law enforcement while knowing they're here illegally with financial gain. There's some commercial advantage or financial gain that creates this. And intentionally concealing or harboring, there's an or there in between these sections, or intentionally concealing, harboring, as we talked about a moment ago, what the definition is, or shield from detection. So those conditions have to apply for this to be an offense.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. Sponsor, how will this impact churches and church organizations?
Chairman Todd.
If they are providing services that are outside of the definitions in this bill, then they will not be affected at all.
Representative Hardaway.
All right, well, let me be more specific then. Is it necessary for a church or a nonprofit under a church's direction on their property to actually ascertain the citizenship or the legal status of an individual before they provide care, whether it's feeding them or giving them somewhere to sleep or clothes?
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So again, to qualify,
Looks like she's showing herself out. Keep going. Sorry.
to qualify as smuggling, there has to be a commercial advantage or financial gain. So charity organizations, I would say, generally would not fall under that, first of all.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. You know, you be eating up my time when you're not paying attention now. So that's good to hear your intent there.
However, I also need to inquire what level of care, what duty do they have if they find that an individual is undocumented?
Chairman Todd.
There is no obligation in this bill created at all.
Representative Hardaway.
All right. And on the healthcare providers, if a doctor shows up at wait for this head to get out the way, another eclipse. If a doctor shows up at a church and the purpose is to administer advice or treatment to an undocumented individual, does the doctor have a duty to inquire on status? Does the church have a duty to notify the doctor of status?
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the exemption here that is in section 5D specifically exempts a person at a healthcare facility that's licensed under the state because they would have a financial gain. You know, they're selling a service potentially. So we exempted them, but an individual doctor that may show up at a charity organization is not in one of these facilities. If he's donating his time and it's not for financial gain, that's the first qualification there. I don't believe he would be shielding or harboring them or hiding them as well. So I hope that answers at least most of your question.
Representative Hardaway.
And it does, sir. I'm going to extend it to make sure that it would include EMTs.
Chairman Todd.
They are not mentioned in this bill.
Representative Hardaway.
So that means that they could show up without fear of being prosecuted because they were treating someone that was undocumented with or without their knowledge.
Chairman Todd.
Again, they have to be in a position of knowingly transporting them or harboring them, hiding them for financial gain, not just providing a kind service. So someone being a good Samaritan, for example, or just providing kindness to someone would not meet the qualifications of this to be a crime.
Representative Hardaway.
All right, thank you. I still have a level of uneasiness about the bill, but I appreciate you engaging and clarifying who's at risk and who's not for prosecution under this. Thank you, sir.
Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just trying to get some clarification as well because, you know, I'm looking here, definition of sanctuary in Cambridge Dictionary is a protection or a safe place, especially for someone or something being chased or hunted. So is it your intent with this legislation, if a Catholic priest brings someone into their sanctuary to provide a safe place for them, you intend them to be charged for harboring? Is that your intent?
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would love to have more clarification of exactly where this word is that the member was defining so I can better answer the question.
Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, I'll read it to you again. Cambridge Dictionary provides the word sanctuary, which churches are sanctuaries, you know, in case you didn't know. Protection or a safe place, especially for someone or something being chased or hunted. So if a Catholic priest brings one of his parishioners, one of his flock, into his church to provide them sanctuary in his church, is the intent of your legislation to charge that Catholic priest with harboring?
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not presenting a bill about a dictionary. I'm presenting a bill with its own wording, and I would appreciate clarification as to where that particular word appears in the bill. That's my question, so that I can properly answer the member's question.
Representative Mitchell.
Let me make it even clearer for you. You brought somebody in here on the House floor the other day, honored them and threw a little party in here. They have a spouse that is undocumented. It is your intent for that spouse, for the person you honored on this floor, to be charged with harboring if this passes.
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I still don't have clarification as to where the word sanctuary is in this bill.
Representative Mitchell.
It's called a church sanctuary. If you had, almost said something, but I'm not going to. Most people who are familiar with church are familiar with the word sanctuary. They hear it, either their priest, their preacher, brother, whatever you call the leader of your church, they'll call the building, certain parts of the building, a sanctuary. That happens most of the time in the Christian church. So it's called a sanctuary. And Catholics in particular call it a sanctuary. And the priest, they will try to protect their parishioners, especially if they feel it's unjust, and they'll bring them in to protect them. Your bill, Riley Gaines, is married to someone who is documented at this current time. So your bill will affect her. I'm sure she's going to be harboring her husband. So I'm just trying to get how you feel about arresting men of the cloth and someone you honored up here on the House floor. Have a straight answer. If you're going to stand up there and present a bill like this, at least have the guts and audacity to explain it.
Chairman Todd.
Mr. Speaker, for clarification, I would appreciate your opinion, sir, whether I'm speaking in tongues or not. I've asked the same question, I believe in English, 3 times to address the member's concerns, and I've not gotten a straight answer yet, just bloviating. So I would appreciate your clarification, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Mitchell, you're recognized.
Would phonics help you? I don't know. I can't use crayons and have a prop for you. I can't help you anymore.
Thank you. Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And sponsor, I asked this question in committee, and I want to follow up with this. I had a member of our church several years back who lives in Africa, citizen of a country in Africa, came here for a meeting, and out of fear of going back to the country where they're from, stayed beyond the time of the visa. In that scenario, if it ever happens again, and my church provides housing for this individual who, again, fears going back to their country because of war, and the visa has expired, does that then put us in a position where we have violated the law if this passes?
Chairman Todd.
And I appreciate that question. Very legitimate question. And I will say in Section 5, it states, and this is a combination of things, that the offense of human smuggling is for the purpose of commercial advantage or private financial gain, first and foremost. Then knowingly transporting or with the intent to conceal, also harboring, shielding, hiding. So all of those things have to happen before there's an offense.
Representative Love.
Thank you. My concern is in Section 6, except as provided in subsection C, it's an offense for a person to harbor or hide. That's out, or
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The drafting code of the amendment that we're on that makes the bill is 7604, and section 6 is the date this goes into effect. So it has changed. We clarified, we put the definition of harboring in section 5 and combined 5 and 6. There was some overlap, some duplication. So we combined those, sir.
Representative Love.
3, Amendment 3.
Chairman Todd.
The last amendment that the Senate adopted, drafting code 7604.
Representative Love.
Okay. All right. It's not on the dashboard. That's why I was trying to follow. Is it on the dashboard? It is on there. Okay. All right. So just for clarification, then churches who do provide that type of service of housing persons whose visa has expired, person comes over here, visa is going to end in March. If the church provides housing for them as they're waiting for their visa to be renewed, does that put the church in a position where the church has violated the law?
Chairman Todd.
I think if first they have some financial gain or commercial advantage from that, that's the first criteria. And either secondly, they would have to knowingly transport or conceal that individual, or conceal, harbor, or shield from detection. So it's a combination of the commercial advantage and then one of those two other items. They're in section 5.
Representative Love.
Thank you for that. I do still have concerns because I know there's a gray area in there where churches may not know that they are getting close to violating, and it's all being done in an effort to try to make sure that, particularly if they're members of their church in other countries who come to visit and are looking for a place to stay, that this may be a crucial area. So I do have concerns about the legislation for that and many other reasons. So thank you for answering my questions. Thank you, Speaker.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I can help clear this up just a little bit. With regard to some of my colleagues' questions, Senate adopted amendment number 3 in the Senate, and we've adopted the Senate bill. So the Senate bill pretty clearly, as amended, that we've adopted here today, creates a Class C felony for the offense of human smuggling. This amendment defines human smuggling to include intentionally harboring. Harboring is defined as providing shelter to. So the scenario that Leader Love just gave would directly result in a Class C felony or the dissolution of his church. The church which I was raised in, the church which most of you attend or you were raised in, taught the Word of God and the teachings of Jesus Christ to help your neighbor, to assist those who need assistance. I mean, the entire Bible's chock full, Old Testament, New Testament, help someone who needs helping. Your church does this, takes in anyone, gives them assistance, gives them food, gives them shelter. They're vulnerable. You and your church will be held liable under this bill. That's simple. That's it. It's that clear. The definition in this bill is absolutely clear. You are committing a crime of human smuggling if you provide shelter to someone. So by carrying out the Word of Christ, the teachings of the Bible, and helping someone who needs help or assistance. Now, the trick is whether you know they're undocumented or not. Well, guess what? That's going to be proved in court, whether you knew or not. You're going to court. You're going to be your church is going to be dissolved. All this is after the fact. That's a question of fact. So you've already incurred all this cost. Your church has gone through all this ordeal, getting hauled into court. Your priest, your minister, your pastor getting charged with a Class C felony, or any of you operating within your church as an elder or pastor who took part in this in any way, you're getting a Class C felony that you're going to have to defend the rest of your life. just for carrying out the word of God and the teachings of Jesus Christ. It's that simple. All of this, I continue to be amazed at how fast Christianity is thrown out the window in the name of politics. This is atrocious. I'm asking you, read the plain language of Amendment 3 that was adopted in the Senate that you're voting on today, and tell me that your church is okay with this. I have got churches throughout my district of multiple faiths serving the immigrant community, whether they know or don't know or whatever. They're doing what the Bible teaches them to do. They are providing shelter to those in need. And if you come after my church, and this attorney general comes after the churches in my district or anybody in the entire state of Tennessee, we're going to have a problem. Because there's something called freedom of religion in this country that we follow in the state of Tennessee. I would ask of you, when voting on this bill, call on your faith, not on your political party. What's more important to you? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, there were just now 4 minutes of your life wasted because the member did not read the very first line where the offense is defined in Section 5. And I'll read it again. A person commits the offense of human smuggling who, for the purpose of commercial advantage or private financial gain. That's the first part of this. That's the most critical part. Then you have the other options, the other things that go with that. That's either or. They knowingly transport an individual with intent to conceal from law enforcement that individual, or they intentionally conceal, harbor, or shield from detection that individual. But it all is based on that personal financial gain or commercial advantage. That is first and foremost. That has to be the critical part.
No. Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman, that's enough. That's enough. We're not going to do this today. We're not doing it today. Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm merely stating facts that are in the bill, and everyone can read it. It's in front of you on your desk. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Burkhart, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. There's objection. All those in favor of previous question vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 71, 23 nays.
Previous question prevails. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 392 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 73, 22 nays.
Senate Bill 392, having received the constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. Most considered table. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings the body back to item 63, but Chairman Slater, House Bill 958, relative to education. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk. Again, that's item 63.
Representative Slater, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 950 on third and final consideration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 950.
Representative Slater moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 950. Representative Slater, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 950 on third and final consideration.
Representative Slater moves passage of Senate Bill 950 on third and final consideration. By second, Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Not in the Senate bill, so move to adopt. Defer to the sponsor for the explanation.
Chairman White moves adoption of Committee Amendment number 1. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting Committee Amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Slater, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 950 creates a federal education deregulation task force to prepare Tennessee for potential changes to the U.S. Department of Education. With that, I renew my motion.
Chairman Slater renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Powell.
So just to understand, this task force would examine if we decided as a country to get rid of the Department of Education completely, not receive all the federal funds that we get. Do you know, with the task force, since we want to deregulate and no longer want to receive, I guess, federal funds from the Department of Education, would our education solely be paid for with state dollars? Is that something the task force is going to look at?
Chairman Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the question. There are 5 things that the task force will look for, and those are clearly in the bill. Let me just give you a quick summary so you have time for another question. First of all, identify all federal funding for K-12 education, identify federal requirements for receiving funds, identify state resources needed to receive federal funds, identify the number of employment positions funded by federal funds, and then fifthly, consider whether programs or resources provided by the federal funds should be continued.
Representative Powell.
Thank you. So my issue with this is essentially by passing this bill, we are saying that we are okay with the Department of Education being completely disbanded. You know, we want to continue to take those monies, because I heard you talk about, and these things they're going to look at is federal funds, but we do not want to look to the federal government anymore for guidance when it comes to education. And I think that that is a pretty dramatic step as a state to take. I mean, we should, we rely on the federal government for guidance when it comes to issues like the Americans with Disability Act, when we look at issues like civil rights. And by disbanding the Department of Education and moving away from, you know, having this task force, moving away from federal support, I think we're going down a very dangerous road that is going to completely undermine education for the students in Tennessee. So I would just simply ask that my colleagues vote no on this and think about how important it is to have federal resources and support for education of our public schools and also our private schools, because they provide guidance there as well in this state. Thank you.
Representative Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this legislation is completely ambivalent to whether or not federal funds continue or don't. It's ambivalent to what degree there may be deregulation at the federal level. What this legislation does, members, is that it prepares us in Tennessee if there are changes at the federal level to funding or deregulation. We need to be prepared as policymakers when we return next year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the sponsor, it does a lot more than that, what you just said. If it only did that, I don't know if I would support the bill. But number 5, number 5 is the key to this. This task force is going to say whether we do it or not about the funds, but it's going to make a decision on whether we want to continue to do that. That's extremely important. Okay, now I get you saying if we don't get the money, we don't spend the money, we don't send it on down the pipeline. If that was all this bill did, then you know, it would be okay. It'd actually be a reasonable thing to study. But you're saying this task force is going to choose winners and losers in terms of how we're funding, how we're delivering K through 12 education today. And so I would like for you to respond to that, and then have one more question for you.
Chairman Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the outcome of this task force will be a report that will be delivered in time for the next year of this General Assembly. This task force will not be making any decisions. This task force will simply be writing a report that will be brought to this body and the Senate as well. And so the General Assembly will determine the path forward as it relates to what was learned from the task force study.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I've never seen a report get dissected to say we're going to do A through Z, skip AA, and then we'll continue on. So I'm guessing that this will be a document that's going to be received by this General Assembly. That's my concern. This bill goes too far. That's one big concern. The second and last, well, not the last, but the last one I'll discuss today is you're making decisions with this bill for the LEA. You're telling the LEA, we're not going to, if the feds don't put their funds with it, we're not going to put our funds with it. And they're going to be left to tax their local communities if they want to keep these particular programs, especially the ones that this task force may decide we don't want to continue this. So again, they're going to choose winners and losers, and then they're going to tax the local LEAs that want to continue these programs. Because let's be real, it's those resource type programs that are probably going to be the ones that's going to get cut. It's not going to be the reading. It's not going to be the math. It's not going to be. It's not going to be the history or something to be a revisionist type history. But those things will remain. But what's going to get cut? Those enhancement type programs. That's my concern with this piece of legislation. I know it's a task force, but these task force, we're going to be political appointments. They're not going to know what type of progress we've done. They're not going to understand the history. They're going to be political appointments. They're going to look at Washington said they're not going to fund this, or we as Tennesseans, we've heard we don't like that. And then they're going to make these decisions. It's going to have a lasting input on our children. So again, I just say be very careful, members, when we look at this seemingly harmful piece of legislation here. Thank you, Speaker.
Representative Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the only decisions that this task force will make are what is included in the report that then will be brought to the General Assembly for decisions. So the task force will not be making any decisions for any LEAs, will not be making any decisions for this body as a whole. The task force, the only decisions that the task force will make are those what will go into the report that then will be brought to the General Assembly. And I renew my motion.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you. I believe I mentioned in committee one of my concerns is that we're putting the cart before the horse, and we have no guidance from the federal government yet. So perhaps we should wait until and if that happens. Before you start putting on a commission, you need to know what the guidance is so that you put the right people on that commission that understand what is happening, are firsthand a part of what's going to be happening. And for those who think that because if they do away with the Federal Department of Education, the money's coming to Tennessee anyway, there is literally nothing that says that. So do not expect it. Imagine if that money does not come to Tennessee over the next 5 years, we're draining $1 billion from public schools to go to vouchers. And then we're not getting that money for special education and for Title I that most all of our rural schools need, as well as our urban schools. This is a huge mistake. We should be telling our representatives not to do this to Tennessee. We will not be able to afford the programs. Now, if you want to talk about a task force to figure out how we're going to continue special ed services, Title I funding, our vocational and technical curriculums without these federal dollars, that might be worth finding out. But the reality is, the federal government sends money for the programs I just mentioned. They don't tell us how to implement it. They don't tell us how to do that. We decide that in our local LEAs. I can't tell you how many times I sat down with the special ed department and they said, how do y'all want to spend these Title I funds? The federal government didn't tell us how we were going to spend it. They asked us how we wanted to spend it, and we chose the things that our kids needed in their classroom. That's going to go away. And so I think that this is a bad bill because we should be moving in the opposite direction and pushing them to advocate for every single student in Tennessee. And this bill is saying, we agree with you, and potentially it's saying, we don't want your help. And I am promising you, we cannot fund these programs at this level that currently, which is still underfunded. But we will have almost nothing for those programs in the next few years if we don't advocate for these federal dollars that lift up our disabled students, our vocational students, our rural students, and our urban students.
Chairman Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative, for arguing in favor of my bill in one very important point. We do not know what the federal government is going to do as it relates to deregulation or funding. This current administration has made it clear that there are going to be changes. And so thank you for bringing clarity to the fact that, yes, that we don't know. And so that's why it's important for us as the policymakers in education, this body, the General Assembly, to be aware of what guidance is coming from the Federal Department of Education. And there has been guidance, even within the past month, there has been guidance that has come from the federal department to our Tennessee Department of Education. So it's very important for us as policymakers when we come back in January to be ready and prepared to continue education for all of our students in Tennessee. You mentioned those in special education, and you are correct that federal dollars do go for special education. And what if those dollars are not the same? We need to make sure that as we consider a budget next year, that we're making sure that we're allocating the funds so that our special ed students will continue to receive those funds. In addition, federal funding is for CTE, and we need to make sure that we continue that we continue
Representative,
with state
hang
dollars.
on, Chairman Slater. Representative, you can't do that. Come on. Y'all, hey. No, stop. You're out of order. You're out of order. We're not having this today. We are not going down this road. Y'all need to control yourselves. Quit yelling out. Even if you have disagreement, you had your time. You have a rebuttal. You can come back. But we are not going to start yelling across the floor. That's not what we're doing today. Chairman Slater, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, it's important for us to make sure that we know what changes are taking place at the federal level. This bill simply puts together a task force of members of the General Assembly that can then put together a report and can come back to us in a timely manner when it's going to be budget process time for us to know where it is that we may need to fill in, what federal dollars may or may not be there. It's important for us as a General Assembly to know these things. This task force would be given this role to bring back to the General Assembly information so that we can make good decisions for the students of Tennessee. With that, I renew my motion.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
Previous question been called. There's objection on the board. All those in favor of previous question vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 73, 23 nays.
Previous question prevails. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 950 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 74, 23 nays.
Senate Bill 950 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed without objection. The most reconsidered is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the body is now ready for item 77. Item 77, House Bill 653 by Representative Hicks of Washington, relative to the Bureau of Ethics and Campaign Finance. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 229.
Representative Hicks moves substitute and form Senate Bill 229 without objection. So ordered. Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 229 on third and final consideration.
Representative Hicks moves passage of Senate Bill 229 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of Committee Amendment number 1. Proper motion, probably seconded without objection. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting Committee Amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 229 makes changes to help the Tennessee Registry of Elections finance with efficiency and transparency. A couple of things that this bill touches on is it requires all political campaign committees registered with the Registry of Elections to pay an annual $150 registration fee. This bill eliminates both individual and aggregate limits for political campaign committees controlled by a political party or a caucus. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Hicks renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Oh, Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can you say what you just said about caucuses? Just for clarification. To make me nervous.
Representative Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this does is this eliminates any of the individual or aggregate limits for a political campaign committee controlled by a caucus. In other words, if your caucus decides to support someone in your party, they will be able to do so without any limits of contribution to that candidate.
Chairman Clemens. Okay. Representative Hammer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Chairman Hicks for his work on this bill. I am sad that we weren't able to fund the technology upgrades to the Bureau of Ethics, and I hope this body will go and work on that this year. From talking with other members in other states and looking at what their technology does, we are way, way far behind. And to make this an efficient organization and make sure that we have less errors and better transparency, we really need to upgrade those systems. So I hope we continue to work on that next year. And thank you again.
Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. Sponsor, does this speak to contributions to those PACs, or merely the expenditures? And I'm particularly interested in the no limit aspect of it.
Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill eliminates both individual and aggregate limits for political campaign committees controlled by the political party or the caucus. So as I said, if your caucus wants to support any member, then they will be able to do that without any limit of a campaign contribution to your campaign or any member's campaign.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, and I get that part. I'm inquiring about the contributions to the PAC itself. Does this address those limits or any of the other aspects of contributions to a PAC controlled by a caucus?
Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, that does not address that.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 229 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 73, 21 nays.
Senate Bill 229 and receive a constitutional majority. Everybody declare passed without objection. The motion reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 675 by Leader Cochran relative to education. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk. Mr. Speaker, that's item 78.
Leader Cochran, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 0415.
Leader Cochran moves substitute and conform to Senate Bill 415. Probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 0415 on third and final consideration.
Leader Cochran moves passage of Senate Bill 415 on third and final consideration. Probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1. Mr. Speaker, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as the Senate Amendment number 1, move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 2 is withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Leader Cochran, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House Bill 675 sets up an advisory committee to look at testing, essentially, in K through 12 education in our state. 4 members from the Senate, 4 members from the House, a member of the State Board of Education to hopefully figure out how we can do this process more efficiently and in a way that is more effective for our school system. With that, I'll yield to any questions.
Leader Cochran renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Leader Cochran, one more time. What are we doing?
Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, we are looking at hopefully how we can do testing better. I think for far too long we've overemphasized that and perhaps have devoted too many hours to it. We're putting together a committee to look at that to see how we can do it better.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Put me on that committee.
Chairman Spicky.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Leader Cochran, fantastic idea. Briefly, I know it's been amended, but I think your bill does a little bit more than what you said. Can you go into a little bit better detail on that?
Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And you're correct, Chairman. This bill initially was much more robust, similar to my friend who's the chairman of Commerce talked about on a bill of his yesterday. It started stronger. And unfortunately, just through the process, we've kind of gotten to this point where hopefully it at least kind of moves the ball forward some. And actually, the chairman I just mentioned, I really just want to thank Chairman Vaughn, Chairman Sapicki, Chairman Haston, Speaker Sexton, really all these folks for working together on the initial bill to make it stronger. We initially wanted to look at issues like alternatives to Algebra 2. That's a big one that we hear from counselors across the state, that our CTE students that Algebra 2 is not a good alternative for them, but right now there's not another pathway for them. And so Chairman Vaughn, Chairman Hicks as well brought that issue to my attention. So we looked at that. We looked at reducing TCAP for K through 8. Where we're not doing so many tests every single year, really returning hundreds of hours of classroom time back to our teachers. A big part, and this goes again back to Chairman Hastings' focus of our high school testing, focusing on ACT instead of EOC. I'm not aware of a university in the nation that asks what was your Tennessee EOC score, but they do want to know how did you do on ACT. And we should be focusing on improving that. And I think if we align our testing to that, we could improve those test scores. And so as an overview, those are some of the bigger things the bill initially did, Chairman. Thank you for the question.
Representative Towns.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Representative, as it relates to the test, when we find out what it is that we're looking for, what will we do with that data?
Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative. It would be my intention to come back next year, hopefully with another attempt on returning more classroom time back to our teachers and our students, so we aren't overly focused on testing. I think, again, we don't want to completely eliminate testing, but we want to make sure that we are implementing the correct tests and that we're focusing in the right areas. There kind of comes this point, perhaps, of diminishing returns, right? Where you reach such a level of testing that you're not getting what you desire out of it. And so it's my opinion that we've reached that point in the state where we decide we should do this more efficiently. And so hopefully we can look at this, what this committee finds, bring it back to this body and the body down the hall, and we can do something about it.
Representative Towns.
Well, over a period of time, sometime in the past, we found that universities, Ivy League universities, stopped relying on some of the tests because they found that these tests were not indicative of the performance of the kids or the young people that would be entering into the institutions, which is a good thing to remove them. Now, I've always had a problem with the test. Some guy on Mars making up a test that I'm taking on Earth, but it's not the test that my teacher gives me, which is going to be more relevant to me because they're teaching me in the class every day what it is that they think or the system thinks I'm supposed to learn. Then I get a test from way over here somewhere that has no bearing. It's a standardized test, but it's not what my teacher's been teaching me. And the one that I've always thought should have the most weight should be the one that the teacher's teaching you every day. You know your students. You may have 10, you may have 30 students, but you know your students, but they don't get the same gravitas as these other tests. So it's important to me that if we come back and find that, and I'm sure you're going to find that they're not doing what we think they're doing, that we do something to modify so that these kids can advance like they're supposed to be able to without having a test to just prohibit them from being able to go to the next level. And just to make clear, we're not talking about the tests that the teachers are teaching every day or every other day, right?
Leader Cochran.
That's correct. This is a focus on standardized testing and hopefully finding a way that we can reduce that to a level where it's more efficient.
Representative Towns.
Well, please keep us informed. Let us know, and because this is real critical for our academic system within the state of Tennessee, and we need to modify it as quickly as we possibly can, so as not to, restrict our children from being able to go to the next level. Thank you.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, sponsor of the bill. Years ago, I did one of my days on the Hill, and we had students from 5 different high schools come up, and they each had a project. One of the projects that one of the schools did was excessive testing. And I talked with the chairman, the education committee chair, to allow them to present their findings. And it was amazing the amount of research that they did across the state. They reached out to students all across the state to talk about the impact excessive testing was having on them. They were stressed. A lot of them felt like, here I have in front of me a level 5 teacher that I cannot fully learn from because we are spending too much time on all this excessive testing. The chairman had allotted them 10 minutes. It ended up being about 30 because they were learning from the students who were directly impacted by all of this testing. I'm hoping that in your vision of what you're seeing, that you are thinking about students being able to come and testify to you on the stress that they're experiencing from excessive testing. Some of these students were so glad to graduate because they were just tired of it, but they feared what was going to happen to their middle school sister or brother, those who were left in high school that was going to continuously have to go through this process. And I think it was causing undue stress to these students. So I appreciate the fact that we want to look at all of this excessive testing, but I also feel like we need to hear from the students who are affected by it and what it's doing to them in those classrooms. What is your vision for how you can include their voices in this task force?
Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And leader, yes, I would certainly envision that that there would be a student perspective in these committee meetings where we're hearing what effect it has on them and all of the other things that you mentioned. Yeah, I think that's critical to have that input from students. I completely agree with you.
Leader Camper.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, well, I appreciate that. I think that, you know what members need to appreciate the value that they bring to the table because they're the ones that are being stressed out. They're the ones that are having to go through this process. They're the ones that are just intimidated by waking up. And there's the ones that's not getting the classroom time that they really feel they deserve. And then they're going to be going off. And then we will wonder why, when they get to college, they still got to go through some remedial training, some remedial classes when they could have done it while they were in high school. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In House Education Amendment number 1, 6055, is that on the bill? Is that the same as the Senate amendment? So in here, it talks about allowing the department to meet RTI-2 requirements with high dosage, low ratio tutoring. Can you explain what that means?
Leader Cochran.
Sure. Thank you, leader. And so just in speaking with educators and just numerous people in the field, RTI was one of those testing areas that needs reform. And I don't know that I can give you a specific definition on the spot of the high dosage. I can get that to you. That in the study, it's not in the final version of the bill, but just in speaking with educators, RTI is one of those subject matters that we wanted to reform and wanted to make that more efficient and kind of reduce how much RTI they were having to focus on. And so I can get you the exact definition of the high dosage, but yes, essentially giving an alternative for teachers. And I don't want to monopolize your time.
Leader Camper.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative. I'll look forward to getting that answer.
Representative Burkhart, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
There's objection to the previous question. We're on the board. All those in favor of previous question vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 72, 24 nays.
Previous question prevails. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 415, please vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 79, 17 nays, one present not voting.
Senate Bill 415, I received a constitutional majority. Everybody declare passed without objection. The most reconsidered is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the body is ready for item 80. Item 80, House Bill 915 by Representative Sparks, relative to state employees. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Sparks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to substitute conform to Senate Bill 322.
Representative Sparks moves to substitute conform to Senate Bill 322, probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move passage of Senate 322 on third and final consideration.
Representative Sparks moves passage of Senate Bill 322 on third and final consideration, probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House State and Local Government Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1, filed as House Amendment 2, same as Senate Amendment number 2.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as Senate Amendment number 2. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 2 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Sparks, you're recognized.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, many of us have had to care for maybe our aging parents or a family member in hospice or battling cancer. And what House Bill 915 is seeking to do is to update our 6-week paid leave for state employees if they're in that situation to care for a family member in hospice or battling cancer. The bill would allow state employees to take the paid leave to support a parent, spouse, child, or grandchild who is in need at the end of life. With that being said, appreciate your consideration, appreciate your vote, and move passage of Senate Bill 322 on third and final consideration.
Representative Sparks renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sponsor, I just want to thank you for this bill. Being able to care for loved ones as they age is extremely important. I myself have dealt with this issue with help and care for a mother, also an aunt that I'm her power of attorney. She's dealing with Parkinson's. And also at the same time, as a father to 2 young children, I'm part of a growing group of folks called the sandwich generation. I brought this up in committee, but we are in an age where we're having to care for our dependents, our children, but also our other dependents who are our parents and those who cared for us at one point, and now we need to step up and care for them. So I know this impacts a lot of Tennesseans, probably a lot of people in this room too, that caretake for their parents and older loved ones. So really appreciate you running this bill. It's very important, and it'll help our state employees have the time off they need and get paid for that work and to retain a great state workforce. So thank you so much.
Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 322 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Raper, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 89, 1 nay.
Senate Bill 322, I received a constitutional majority. Everybody declare passed by objection. The most reconsidered is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the body is ready for item 82. That's item 82, House Bill 940 by Leader Camper, relative to personal watercrafts.
Leader Camper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 940 on third and final consideration.
Leader Camper moves passage following second. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Ag and Natural Resources Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1, filed as House Amendment 2.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of committee amendment number 2. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of committee amendment number 2 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Leader Camper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, first I'd like to thank a few people who helped me with this bill. It started out doing one thing, and I learned as we went along that I was needed to make some changes. So I really wanted to thank Chairman Vaughn, Chairman Todd, and Senator Hill for their ideas and the things they gave to make this a better bill. I'd like to thank all the stakeholders who are willing to work with us together. I think that makes for a good legislative process. What this bill does is it deals with watercrafts, and it raises the age a person can operate a personal watercraft from 12 to 14, and only on weekends and holidays. They can still be out on the lakes and enjoying their time. We also moved the effective date from this year to January 2026. Mr. Speaker, members, that's what the bill does. I renew my motion.
Clerk Campbell renews motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Parkinson, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 940 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 72, 15 nays, 3 present, not voting.
House Bill 940 and received constitutional majority. Everybody declare passed by objection. The motion for reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Item 83, House Bill 1163 by Representative Stevens, relative to education funding for public charter schools. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Stevens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1019.
Representative Stevens moves to substitute and conform Senate Bill 1019. Probably seconded without objection. Supported. Representative Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1019 on third and final consideration.
Representative Stevens moves passage of Senate Bill 1019 on third and final consideration. Probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment Number 1, same as Senate Amendment Number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Amendment Number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Education Committee Amendment Number 2.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On amendment number 1, it's same as the Senate amendment, so we are withdrawing this. Thank you.
We're on number 2. We're on number 2, Chairman White.
Amendment number 2, not the Senate amendment, move to adopt.
Correct. Chairman White moves adoption of committee amendment number 2. Probably seconded. Any discussion on amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting committee amendment number 2 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
No further amendments, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill makes the state portion of the base student funding under TISA a direct allocation for their charter schools rather than a part of the pass-through funding distributed by the LEA. And with that, I renew my motion.
Representative Stevens renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Leader Lamberth, you recognize.
Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1019 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 70, 22 nays, 1 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 1019 having received constitutional majority. Everybody declare passed without objection. The motion for reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, item 84, House Bill 1177 by Chairman Williams, relative to persons found incompetent to stand trial.
Representative Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage on third and final consideration of House Bill 1177.
Representative Williams, moves passage, probably second. Ms. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Chairman Farmer moves adoption of Committee Amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Committee Amendment number 1 say aye, aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, you adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1, filed as House Amendment 2.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of Committee Amendment number 2, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting Committee Amendment number 2 say aye, aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, you adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House Bill 1177 as amended would allow for an extension or a modification to Jillian's Law last year. The body may remember she was a young lady that lost her life, a Belmont student. This bill was worked out between the disability coalitions, our district attorneys, and the mental health and substance abuse, allowing for more services for those folks as it relates to extending the requirements for adjudication or treatment for those folks and individuals. It also requires that the Regional Mental Health Institute, once someone has been adjudicated incompetent, that they still have to update on their mental health every 6 months. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to answer any questions the members might have, and I renew my motion.
Representative Williams renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Bricken, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move the previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 1177 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 95, nays.
House Bill 1177 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed by objection. The most read series table. Cop. Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. Move to take up item 87, House Bill 1344 at this time.
Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, item 87, House Bill 1344 by Chairman Williams and others relative to higher education. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill's on the desk.
Representative Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of the Senate. I move substitute and conform to the Senate Bill 1359.
Representative Williams moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 1359, probably second without objection. So ordered. Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1344 allows for, under the guidance of the Commissioner in F&A and the Comptroller's Office, as well as the both chairs of Finance in House and Senate, to allow for reallocation of capital dollars to Tennessee State University for the purposes of funding their school. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Williams.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. I move passage on third and final consideration.
Chairman Williams moves passage Senate Bill 1359 on third and final consideration. Probably second. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1, filed as House Amendment 2, same as Senate Amendment 2.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as Senate Amendment number 2. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 2 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
Chairman Williams renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1359, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 97, no nays.
Senate Bill 1359, I received a constitutional majority. Everybody declare passed by objection. The most read series table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings us back to item 85. Item 85, House Bill 1181 by Hicks of Washington, relative to taxation of broadband equipment and services. Mr. Speaker, Senate bill's on this.
Representative Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 925.
Chairman, Representative Hicks moves substitute and conform to Senate Bill 925 without objection. So ordered. Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 925 on third and final consideration.
Representative Hicks moves passage of Senate Bill 925 on third and final consideration. Probably second. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1. Mr. Speaker, it's the same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as Senate Amendment. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill extends the sales tax exemption on the equipment that broadband providers buy or lease to build their networks in Tennessee. With that, I renew my motion.
Representative Hicks renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Deputy Speaker Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 925 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 95, 2 nays.
Senate Bill 925 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. Most weak serious text. Representative Brooks, for what purpose?
And now I'm out of order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to recognize my children up in the gallery. They're getting ready to go, and on the
Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Item 86, House Bill 1232, by Leader Lamberth, relative to criminal justice. Mr. Speaker, Senate Bill's on the desk.
Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move passage of House Bill 1232 on third and final consideration.
Leader Lamberth moves. Yeah. Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1233.
Leader Lamberth moves substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1233 without objection. So ordered. Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move passage of Senate Bill 1233 on third and final consideration.
Leader Lamberth moves passage of Senate Bill 1233 on third and final consideration. By second, Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 2, same as Senate Amendment number 3.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 2 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the fentanyl bill. We, about a decade ago, had a meth epidemic in this state, and we put on there a 30-day mandatory minimum for those that were caught with possession of meth. And it worked very well to get those folks dried out and into treatment. That was the goal of that. That is the goal of this. And so this does a couple of things dealing with lifetime order protection and treating every crime scene where someone overdoses as just that, a crime scene. Many times by the time the police show up, the crime scene has been destroyed by those medics that are well-intentioned and are trying to save someone's life, but that is a crime scene. We've passed bills here to make sure that that is treated like second-degree murder when some drug dealer pushes their poison out to somebody that overdoses on it. So again, it does 3 or 4 different things, but the main goal of this is to try to combat the fentanyl crisis that we are facing right now that is killing thousands of our citizens, just as we combated the meth epidemic a decade ago successfully. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Leader Lamberth renews motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Speaker. And I don't believe that our county jails in particular are going to be the best places for people who are struggling with substance abuse or mental illnesses. And the idea that they need to be incarcerated for 30 days before they get the treatment, or quote unquote dried out before they're immediately put into substance abuse treatment, is something that's deeply problematic to me. I think that should be the first thing. The second challenge that I have with this is our prisons are overcrowded already. I've been to 201 Poplar, visited it for 4.5 hours. There isn't space in our county jail because of these types of punitive laws that continue to put people in prison when there are or should be alternatives for them. The extension, the growth of our carceral state and not addressing the root causes of problems, particularly as it relates to substance abuse or poverty or mental illnesses, is deeply concerning to me. And I don't think we need to continue to push and pass legislation that makes things more of a crime, that incarcerates people for a mandatory period of time, because the consequences of this legislation lead to more challenges for the people who have to implement it, and ultimately to the taxpayers in counties like mine that end up paying for this. If someone is overdosing or is in need of treatment, our first response should be to get them treatment, realizing and recognizing that just incarcerating them as a first step is not just immoral, but actually creates more challenges for the people who are incarcerated. Prison or jails are not good places. They aren't built in our state to be rehabilitative. They hurt the people who are inside of them. Their mental state worsens. And there's tons of research that says being incarcerated for a certain period of time does do substantial psychological damage and harm to folks. And so putting in legislation for somebody who is sick, somebody who has experienced an overdose, somebody who is using fentanyl or any of these other drugs that are listed here, I think there are 6 or 7 of them, our first response as a state should see them as a person who is sick first. Compassion, as my faith teaches me, is that you have empathy for a person who is hurt, who's on the side of the road, who is using drugs to medicate typically other issues that their situation, their life circumstances have created. That our first response should be that they get substance abuse treatment. It isn't that we use our jails as the place where they quote unquote dry out like some tile and then they get access to treatment. And so I think it is not a good idea for us to use our criminal legal system in this way. And the consequences of it, again, are going to fall on communities that are in rural and urban and suburban areas with people who are poorer. But the counties and the individuals who live in them are going to be the ones who continue to pay for this, instead of our first thought being compassion, serving, helping, healing those who are in need.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you. And the difference is I've spent 20 years walking the journey with folks that are going from addiction to recovery. And when you walk in those folks' shoes, when you walk arm in arm with them, when you actually get out there and get your hands involved, get in the streets, get in the jails, get in with the folks that are just dying from addiction, they will tell you that it triggers at different points for different folks. But when you're so addicted that you're on fentanyl, the type of drugs that we're talking about here, and that's what somebody sold you that is making you spend your every last dollar and day, everything on that drug, the only thing you can do is truly get that drug out of someone's system. That's what I mean by dry out. When you talk to addiction treatment specialist, and in fact, there's a medical reason for that many times, to get that drug out of their system, get someone dried out, and then they're ready for addiction recovery services. Come join me at our recovery courts. Come join me at our mental health courts, where we're walking the long journey to sobriety for someone so that they can go from being an addict to being an active member of society. But yes, many times that does come with a personal responsibility of, look, this is an illegal drug that someone is using. It has taken over their lives, and an opportunity for them to dry out in an enclosed setting. Now, the ideal journey is that jail is not the end of the journey. It is the very beginning and the open door for them to get into inpatient treatment. Inpatient treatment is the goal, and then outpatient recovery services afterwards. It's a long journey. Come walk it any day you want to with me. You are welcome in my community. We've got a fantastic jail program. And in fact, there are some really good programs in Memphis as well, where they do this very journey. And there are hundreds of folks that have benefited from it. So that's just, you and I just see it differently, but the goal is the same, and that's to help people.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you. And sponsor, is there still credit or discretion, judicial discretion, that allows full credit for the 30 days?
Rear Lambert.
Yes, definitely. That credit is applied to their sentence, and the judge can furlough them after that time period. And in many of these cases, quite frankly, it gets negotiated out between the prosecution and defense on some other charge or something else. If somebody is not ready or somebody is simply not appropriate for treatment, but the goal is to get them into treatment.
Representative Hardaway.
All right, thank you. And the portion that spoke to lifetime orders of protection, is that still in your amendment? If so, would you speak to that?
Rear Lambert.
Yes, it is. And I know you and I've worked on those issues for years. This allows for someone who is potentially would be eligible for a lifetime order of protection to file for that lifetime order of protection while the case is still pending, but it would only go into effect if the individual is convicted. And so that we have limited that to certain types of crimes. And so they can file for it ahead of time. And the goal would be for the decision to be made at the same time. If they are convicted, then if the lifetime order of protection would be appropriate for, and it's only felonies, obviously, that we're talking about, and the higher level felonies, then that can all be done at the same hearing. Now you have the conviction, and then you may have a month later or 2 months later, the order of protection hearing, which is predicated upon that conviction. This just allows it to be done at the same hearing.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, sir.
Representative Burkhart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Please come to the call. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1233, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 85, 10 days.
Senate Bill 1233 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. The motion reads serious table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the body is on item 88. Item 88, House Bill 662 by Chairman White, relative to education. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Rule 49, there has been a 50-minute time limit set for this bill on debate, 25 minutes for each caucus.
All right, Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 662 on third and final consideration.
Chairman White moves passage. We're on this. Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I substitute and conform to the Senate bill.
Chairman White moves substitute and conform to Senate Bill 714, probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move passage of Senate bill third and final consideration.
Chairman White moves passage of Senate Bill 714 on third and final consideration, probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment number 1.
Vice Chairman Raper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1 filed as House Amendment 2.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption. Committee Amendment number 2, probably seconded without any discussion on the amendment. Seeing none. All those in favor of Committee Amendment number 2 say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopt the next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, Amendment 3 by Representative Parks, and Mr. Speaker, it was not timely filed.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Sponsor. This and members, this amendment speaks to the lack of information on the fiscal note because this bill has the local body paying for this state oversight committee, and so that's an unfunded mandate. And what this amendment does, it says that since the state is passing this bill, that the state will pay for the oversight advisory board. With that, Mr. Speaker, I move consideration.
You've heard the motion, probably second. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 3. All those in favor of considering amendment number 3, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Gillespie, no. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 25, 63 nays.
In accordance with Rule 60B, having failed to receive the necessary two-thirds vote, the motion to consider amendment number 3 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 4 by Representative Parkinson. Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 4 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 5 by Representative Parkinson. Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this, for your consideration, makes it so that the advisory board that is being attempted to be created is to advise and make recommendations to the local Board of Education on how to improve the LEA. And they are to annually conduct a comprehensive needs assessment and examine the factors that may be causing or contributing to the LEA and send that report to the LEA, advise them on it, and send it to our department. With that, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Sponsor, I ask for consideration.
You've heard the motion. Probably second. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 5. All those in favor of considering amendment number 5, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 24, 66 nays.
In accordance with Rule 60B, having failed to receive the necessary two-thirds vote, the motion to consider amendment number 5 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 6 by Representative Parkinson. Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, members, this is one that we may all be able to agree on. What this amendment does is it says it speaks to background checks, members. Background checks on this board of advisory. They will be dealing with our children and walking into our schools, but nowhere in the legislation does it say that these individuals have to have background checks. And it also speaks to those members of that board of advisory to not have a conflict, so they have to complete a conflict of interest statement just like we do. This is something that I think we should all make sure, in order to protect our children, at a minimum, make sure that this board of advisory has their backgrounds checked. And I hope that we can get consider this untimely filed amendment, but it's an important one.
You've heard the motion, probably seconded. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 6. All those in favor of considering amendment number 6, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Take the vote, Mr. Clerk.
Ayes 24, 69 nays.
In accordance with Rule 60B, having failed to receive the necessary two-thirds vote, the motion to consider amendment number 6 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 7 by Representative Parkinson. Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Parkinson, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 7 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment number 8 by Representative Parkinson. Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Parkinson, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thought that the previous one would be a friendly amendment to the sponsor on background checks, but this one, Memphis and Shelby County Schools is a level 5 district. It's the highest level that can be achieved by law that we passed. What this amendment speaks to is if the district is a level 5 district, the highest that can be achieved by state law that we put in place, then this legislation will not be active on that school district rather, unless it drops to a level 1, 2, or 3 TVAS. Right now, Memphis and Shelby County Schools is a level 5, the highest level that they can achieve based on state law that the sponsor passed.
You've heard the motion, probably second. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 8. All those in favor of considering amendment number 8, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 21, 71 nays.
In accordance with Rule 6B, having failed to receive the necessary two-thirds vote, the motion to consider amendment number 8 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members, and I appreciate the body letting me bring this bill before you. And let me give you a brief description and the reason I'm bringing this bill before you. But before I do that, let me say something about the wonderful city of Memphis that I represent. It is a gorgeous, wonderful city. We have so much. And for those of you who came down a few weeks ago and got to go to the Grizzlies game and then visit the wonderful complex of St. Jude that's done so much for children's cancer, we have a wonderful, wonderful city, and we work hard to maintain that. The reason I'm bringing this bill before you is because as education chair and been education committee for many, many years up here, I see what I want for Tennessee, and I don't see it happening in my own community. The reason I am bringing this particular legislation, we have come to an important time that we have to address issues in our K through 12 system. Let me give you just a couple of points. We mentioned about TVOS scores of 5. Yeah, you all know what TVOS scores are, but that's in growth. What's going on right now in our community is that we are not addressing the dropout rate of our students. We have 110,000, the largest population district in the state, and we have a very high dropout rate due to low test scores. Memphis City Schools receives $900 million per year from the state taxpayer. The other day we passed the budget. It was $6.9 billion is going into K through 12 across our state. $6.9 billion. Our district, and I'm proud that we do get the money, but I want to see it spent and accomplished right. We get $900 million. Now, if you want to break that down, there are 147 school districts. We're one. We're getting $900 million. That's approximately $1 out of every $7 that we're putting into education across the state. So the other 146 districts across the state that you represent, you're sharing the other $6. Like I said, I am grateful for every penny we get, but we have got to do better with the funding that we do get. One of the reasons we do get the amount of money that we do get, when we pass the TISA formula, one of the weights is if you're economically disadvantaged, then you get more money on your TISA. And one of the reasons we get more money in economic disadvantage, and this came from a former superintendent, we have approximately 40% of the students attending our Memphis Shelby County schools are economically disadvantaged. Why? We have about 130,000 adults who don't have a high school degree. Why do they not have a high school degree? Well, we have a large dropout rate over the last 30 years from our schools. So I am here that we're going to have to address this with our state so that we can do better. One last thing, we have 1 out of 5 of our students that are proficient in math, which is 17%, and 1 out of 4 that are proficient in reading, or right at 23%. And one of the biggest things, we have over $1 billion in deferred maintenance of facilities in 23-24 school year. And so these are the issues that we got to address. So all I'm asking in this particular legislation is that this is not a state takeover, that we create an oversight board, which will be made up of 9 highly qualified people in our community, Memphis and Shelby County, that will have the duties of oversight. They will be appointed by the governor and the 2 House speakers, and they will be highly qualified in their field of education and business, and they will have oversight authority over the budget, over contracts, and over properties, so that we can right-size some of the issues that we're not addressing, have not been addressing for a long time. And with that, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman White renews his motion. Now we're on the time limit thing. Leader Camper, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to Representative McKenzie.
3 minutes to Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to the sponsor, in committee, I really implored you to use a 2/3 majority of county commission. That's what we do around here. That's the right thing to do at any legislative body with something that's substantial as doing away with the school board, in fact. So, I talked to you about as you all always say, whenever somebody calls us a democracy, we're a democratic form of government. Y'all say, no, we're a republic. We elect our officials and we charge them to carry out the rights of their constituents. You're right, we're a republic. This bill destroys that. This bill cuts that off at the heel. And I think you all but admitted it in committee, but I understand your zest to fix what ails Memphis Shelby County. I just say this isn't it. You know, what got myself, Representative Davis, Representative Wright, and Senator Briggs into this whole into this hallowed hall we're in today was a horrible event in Knox County. We called it Black Wednesday. It was an opportunity for folks to do right, and they did wrong. Backroom deals, all sorts of bad dealings in Knox County. And we came up as a result of that. That's when we first entered into public service in 2008. I thank God that the 105th General Assembly didn't destroy Knox County based on those bad deeds, and they were horrible. Folks were electing their sons, brothers, cousins, wives into office. It was a bad, dark day. Everyone of a certain age in Knox County fully understands that. But what this bill does with a simple majority, and I say the vote's already taken. This law isn't even in place, and you're counting on a vote that's already been taken. That's cart before the horse. This is a bad piece of legislation to solve a problem. I get the problem, but Black Wednesday was a huge day. Again, thank goodness the General Assembly didn't put his feet on our necks in Knox County and say, we're going to take over Knox County. You all don't know how to do business. You all don't listen to what the Supreme Court said, so we're going to have to come in there. That's what you're doing. You might win today, but Shelby County is going to suffer from this. Duly elected officials, you know how you do get term limits? You vote them out. That's what you say. That's what we do. So I implore you, members, consider our actions today.
Leader Camper. Leader, you'd have to yield time to the chairman if that's what you want to do.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to Representative Parkinson.
Representative Parkinson, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Sponsor, this legislation about educating our children?
Chairman White. Okay, just make sure it's a question. Chairman White.
Absolutely, because right now we are not doing that.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Sponsor, if you'll keep your answers direct and straight, because I only have a couple minutes. Thank you. Okay, then if it's about educating our children, can you tell me quickly, what does Memphis and Shelby County Schools surplus property have to do with educating our children?
Chairman White.
Sir, because these young people get up and go to those facilities every day where you have ceiling tile hanging down, you have floors that haven't been properly cleaned overnight in many cases. They deserve better than the facilities that they're going to school in.
Representative Parkinson.
No, sir. We're talking about surplus properties that they're not using. That is different. I don't want you to answer again because you're taking up my time. But if you will, do you consider your experiment of the failed achievement school district a successful experiment?
Chairman White.
I consider that when the state cared enough about the priority schools, the bottom 5% in our community, to spend, like you said yesterday, $2 billion over 15 years trying to address the problem, yes, I do feel it is a success.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you for getting that on the record. So you're saying that of the 41 schools under the Achievement School District, which probably I think about 38 of them performed worse than the schools that they took over, that you're saying was a success, which really makes me concerned about your next experiment, which is this bill that is in front of us now. Mr. Sponsor, You also in committee, you said that you wanted to get rid of bureaucracy in Memphis and Shelby County schools, and that's what this legislation was doing. But you are adding 9 more people on top of those that are elected, on top of the school, Memphis and Shelby County Schools Administration. How does adding more bureaucracy reduce bureaucracy? Make it make sense.
Chairman White.
It's an oversight board to look at where the bureaucracy is, peel back the layers. I've talked to businesses and people who want to get in there every day and try to work with the community, and they can't get through the bureaucracy to make change.
Representative Parkinson.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. How much is it going to cost to have this advisory board with their salaries, their per diem, and their benefits? And why is it not reflected on the fiscal note?
Chairman White.
Because in the
That's 3 minutes. Leader Camper.
Thank you. No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 3 minutes to Representative Pearson.
Representative Pearson, you recognize.
Thank you. This bill initially came out of a situation that was not good in our county, and I was there when Superintendent Fagans was, in my opinion, unjustly fired, and I stood there and got unjustly fired from this place, so I know a little bit about when there aren't the right policies, procedures, and practices in place to ensure fairness, and I understand that that happened. I can't support this legislation because it is not just about oversight. It is about giving power to take over our public schools and turn them into charter schools, particularly with huge corporations doing that. I can't support this legislation because it continues to erode democracy. In fact, even if the board, the local LEA, says that they don't want a director of schools or wants a director of schools, you then allow for the Tennessee board to override them after the second time. They get to decide who the director of schools is going to be. That's here in your legislation. Not only that, you are allowing for the Public Charter Commission to decide what schools are going to be in Shelby County. This bill isn't just about oversight. I agree that the Memphis Shelby County School Board needs more oversight. We need to make sure that the best practices are being handled. But this bill isn't seeking only to do that. It is an attempt to take over our school system and allowing people who don't have an interest in our children's education, who don't have an interest or a vested interest in the future of Memphis and Shelby County, to have control over a $2 billion budget, deciding who gets what money, and then allowing these corporations to parachute in, taking over our public school systems. I am angry that this legislation is before us, because it isn't just an attempt to use what happened to the previous superintendent against us. It is an attempt to thwart democracy. And I don't like some of the folks who got elected to school board in their decision making, but the reality is, just like you and I, they got elected by people to represent them. And even when they are not doing a very good job at that, it is the responsibility of the people to make sure that we elect better folks, that we recall folks, that we do what is in our power. This is taking away the control that we have had over our school system. And that's wrong. That is unjust, and that is going to hurt students who I see, who I work with, who I meet every single day. And so I'm disgusted that this legislation has been used under the guise of a horrible situation that happened with the superintendent to now give more profits to companies that want to exploit our communities, that want to take the surplus buildings and turn them into whatever else, that want to use this horrible situation, as I would articulate it, and then exploit the people in our communities using you as the goat to get this done. And so I can't support this legislation. It's bad for Memphis. It's bad for Shelby County. It's bad for the state of Tennessee. It is overreach, and it is abhorrent that we are doing this.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to Representative Harris.
Representative Harris, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the sponsor. So how will this 9-member board be selected?
Chairman White.
The 9-member board be selected by names of people, they're Memphis, Shelby County people who have a high degree of education in K through 12, and we'll pick the best and the brightest to do that, but they will be appointed by the 2 speakers and the governor.
Representative Harris.
Will the Shelby County delegation members be able to be a part of that selection process in submitting names, or how will that be?
Chairman White.
we'd be open to all those, and we talk to people every day for years. This has been going on for a long time, as you know, and so we'll put the best people on there to make sure that the oversight and work with the duly appointed board that is already elected to help them out, move through some issues.
Representative Harris.
Thank you. And will the advisory board be choosing the schedule for the actual Shelby County School Board?
Chairman White.
This will be an oversight board once they get into place. Again, I'm using the word oversight to work with them, and they will be meeting on their own and pulling things together. That the school board will still be in place.
Representative Harris.
And then how much money will it end up costing Memphis and Shelby County schools to pay for the salaries of the nine advisory members, as well as their per diem and all of those things that I didn't see that inside of the fiscal note? So,
Chairman White.
Yeah, we put that in because it will be given a lot of their time, just like a duly elected board. And so their salaries will be commensurate to the same thing as an elected school board member.
Representative Harris.
So how much is that going to end up being?
Chairman White.
I'm not sure exactly what a school board member gets paid. Was it 15, 20, 25,000? I read the other day. And so they're being reimbursed on the same amount.
Representative Harris.
Okay, so it's if they're being paid currently $40,000 per year, so it'll be 40,000 times the 9 plus per diem and travel and benefits and all of those things as well, correct?
Chairman White.
There won't be any travel because they'll be Memphians, and they will be reimbursed out of the LEA budget, not the state budget.
Representative Harris.
And then they'll report directly to the Commissioner of Education, or who will they report to?
Chairman White.
Yeah, the Commissioner of Education will be the oversight.
Representative Harris.
Thank you so much. I yield back my time to Leader Camper.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to Representative Hardaway.
Representative Hardaway, 3 minutes.
Morning, sir. I was hoping this day would never come. Let me just get some things clear. In terms of the appointments, those same people can be removed by whom?
Chairman White.
Commissioner of Education.
Representative Hardaway.
And the appointments are for the duration of the initial 3 years or the 3 years plus the additional 3 years that's allowed for?
Chairman White.
The appointments are made for the 3 years, and then the Commissioner of Education wants to go for another 3 years. But any given time during that period of time, the commissioner could opt out and put a new person on there if one person drops off.
Representative Hardaway.
All right. Is this a private act?
Chairman White.
No.
Representative Hardaway.
And it did not have the approval of the majority of the Shelby County legislative delegation?
Chairman White.
No, I'm carrying the bill on behalf of my community.
Representative Hardaway.
All right. As far as the county commission and their role in funding and budgeting, if there is a takeover, will the budget that's set by the managerial board, will that budget allow for any adjustments by the county commission, or will the county commission be compelled to pass that budget request?
Chairman White.
No, the county commission still will have authority. Under this particular legislation, the oversight board will have oversight over the budget, where they can make proposals to the locally elected school board. And they will have the veto authority if they think that the spending is in error. And then it will go to the county commission like any other district to approve or disapprove.
Representative Hardaway.
Can the county commission amend the budget that's sent to it, that's been approved by the oversight committee?
Chairman White.
That's not in this legislation across the state right now. County commissions either mainly approve or disapprove of a budget. So hopefully through the oversight board and the locally elected board, they can work together to get the correct budget out that the county and the taxpayers can afford.
Representative Hardaway.
Will this board have oversight over federal dollars also?
Chairman White.
Those federal dollars do come down and are distributed through the state office. So those will continue the same way.
Representative Hardaway.
And this is one you can take your time answering. Why is this not a takeover? It looks like you're committing a violation of.
All right, Leader Camper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to Representative Chisholm.
Representative Chisholm, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the sponsor, will this oversight board be subject to a conflict of interest, just like the elected board?
Chairman White.
The oversight board will be under the same rules as any other elected board, where they will be, looking for my note here, they will be, yes, the answer to your question is yes.
Representative Chisholm.
So they'll be under the same scrutiny as the elected body as well?
Chairman White.
They will have to have all their meetings in public like the elected board does.
Representative Chisholm.
So they'll be able to make money off the board of the school district?
Chairman White.
I didn't understand your question.
Representative Chisholm.
Tell you what, I changed questions. Will the same body have background checks?
Chairman White.
Before the speakers and the governor and the list that will eventually come out, all that will be done in advance.
Representative Chisholm.
Last question. Will Seating for Success be involved in the selection of this oversight board?
Chairman White.
I'm getting names from many groups I've asked for.
Representative Chisholm.
Thank you. I yield the rest of my time back to Leader Camper.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to Representative Towns.
Representative Towns, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, I'm disappointed in the fact that we were supposed, as a Shelby County delegation, get together and talk about this bill more in-house. I think in one of our last meetings, you stated you wanted everybody to kind of simmer down, settle down. We'll circle back and we'll get together. Okay, it never got to that point. Now, I've said on this House floor before many times, one thing people don't like about used car salesmen, lawyers, and politicians is when we don't tell the truth. This is the most controversial bill that's happening in our city, and all of us need to have some input and some involvement in this bill. Well, it didn't happen, so that's not good. The money that's being paid to the new members that are appointed, is that new money coming in, or that's money that's coming out of the school board's budget?
Chairman White.
And the current legislation, it will be in the current LEA budget.
Representative Towns.
So is that new money or old money?
Chairman White.
No, it's just whatever the current budget of the LEA is.
Representative Towns.
Well, what I'm going to think is that I'm going to interpret that's going to be taking money away from the school system, the LEA school system. There's no new appropriation. So that money is not going to go to educating the kids, what I'm thinking. Okay. Now, the other thing is this, is why could we not have worked this out in-house in Memphis, Tennessee with the school board? Why do we have to come here and do a law? What's the reason and the rationale of that?
Chairman White.
Because I believe that we've had decades to address this and we don't address it. And every time I'm told, well, don't do this. Let's just make sure that if our board can start pulling things together, and year after year after year, we don't improve in our outcomes. And so we just run out of time. I won't take any more of your time, but I can tell you more.
Representative Towns.
And I'd love to hear that. That's the reason that the delegation should get together. Everybody should want all those kids to be educated. All of us do. I think you do. I think my other colleague up there do. And we certainly want all our kids educated. But we are not talking about it. You can't function in silos, or one thing they have all the sense and all the answers and don't talk to the rest. We should have gotten together and made this thing something going to be workable and formidable for our kids down there. We have to get together to figure this thing out. You can't do it by yourself. Not one of us is that smart to be able to figure out what we're going to do down there. And we could have done this thing without coming to the state and setting a terrible precedent as it relates to any of the future members in here can befall, the same fate can befall them. And that's not the way we need to do business in the 21st century. We need to talk. We have the largest delegation there is in the state. And we ought to be leading and doing better, showing the rest of the state how it should be done. And that disappoints me as well. that we did not do that, you know? So with that, I'm just disappointed, Mr. Representative.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to yield another minute and a half to Parkinson to get his question answered. Earlier, he was trying to get an answer from the chairman. Minute and a half.
Yes, Representative Parkinson, a minute and a half.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Sponsor, I'm going to give you another bite at the apple on this. What does an empty school building have to do with the growth of a student's academic progress?
Chairman White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understood you to ask me about the facilities. A lot of our students are going to school in our community. And so, okay, well, I'll come back to that. All right.
Chairman White.
An empty building is a building that becomes blighted in the neighborhood if it sits empty. And for far too long, through the bureaucracy we talked about, we cannot move that building to some other facility, nonprofit, charter, daycare, whatever, because they can't get through the bureaucracy, the system to move that building out.
Chairman, Representative Parkinson.
Thank you. Mr. Sponsor, this is what this is about. Thank you for finally admitting it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not about education. This is about getting the real property from your school districts to give to these charter schools, these CMOs, and these hedge fund owners. And it does not reflect how much it's going to cost us in the fiscal note. Why?
That's out of time. Appreciate that. Leader Camper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I need to yield Representative Towns another minute.
1 minute?
One.
All right, 1 minute.
Now, Mr. Speaker, you can get, if you want to.
No, I can't.
You need, yes, you can. You're the speaker.
1 minute.
Have some time, you know. Okay. Look, we're taking over the school board. What are the academic goals in terms of achievement that you have set in the next 3 or 4 years? What do we intend to accomplish? And if we don't accomplish, what then? What are the academic goals and milestones that you want to see?
Chairman White.
I want this oversight committee to work with the duly elected board to understand why we are not in our community moving our children forward. Why do we have so many from 3rd grade to 8th grade, our TCAT scores go down, our scores go down, and we're losing them to dropouts. Since COVID, too many did not come back. We have youth crime in our community. Our educational system needs to be addressed.
Representative Towns.
I can answer that question, okay, all day long, but that's not what we're supposed to be achieving. We're supposed to be making sure these kids graduate, they can read at a higher level, the crime goes down to school, and they get the BEP money that they should have. Not that. We should make sure the...
All right. Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 37 seconds to Representative Hardaway from my desk.
This is going to be great. 37 seconds to Representative Hardaway.
Thank you. And sponsor, are you familiar with Black Mondays?
Chairman White.
Go ahead, sir, and tell me.
Representative Hardaway.
Black Mondays was conducted late 60s, early 70s. That's because Black folks who were the primary population for the schools were unable to get their rights in establishing the right folks in charge to make decisions about Black children. This is a rollback.
Leader, Mr. Clerk, let's just verify how much time's left.
Mr. Speaker, there's a 3 minutes even.
Leader Camper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, I think it's important
Wait, Leader Camper, are you taking all 3 minutes? All right, we're just making sure. Leader Camper has 3 minutes. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, I think it's important for us to look at the history of what has happened in Shelby County over the past several years. You keep making reference to it's been going on for years and years and years. In 2009, Memphis City Schools gave up its charter. Then we merged. Then it was a demerger. And in 2012, we did something very interesting. One, we lifted the cap on charter schools, which created this just inordinate amount of charter schools popping up. Secondly, we refocused the vision around ASD. The ASD was supposed to be an innovative zone where schools that were on the priority list would go into the zone, go through some innovation, everybody's on point with everything that's going on, and then move back out of the zone. And then the schools would go in and out of the zone, be creative, turn it around, and move on with all the great things that they achieved within the zone. But what happened actually was we turned it over to more charter schools, which has had a terrible effect on our schools. Then in 2013, after the demerger, every city in our county stood up its own school system. Shelby, Collierville, all of them, all 6 of them, except Memphis City Schools. It ended up in just Shelby County Schools. And this General Assembly, doing all of that, even to today, has added additional things for the school and hoops for them to jump through. Before the students could even absorb the changes that were being made, and was continuously told they're failing. You're failing. You're in a failing school. You're failing. So this is what our kids have been hearing year after year after year. And it is affecting their mental. So we have to also own up to our role that we've played in creating what's happening in Shelby County schools. Mr. Sponsor, there were several questions asked about academic achievement and willingness to, and maybe even in a conference committee, talk about maybe some academic achievements included in what we want out of the district. A lot of us feel like, yeah, maybe we need some oversight. And thank you, Speaker, for your forensic audit, because I think it's going to reveal some things that we all need to learn from. And maybe we should put this off until after the audit is completed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative.
All right, Leader Lamberth, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To begin with, for our term of the debate, I would yield 5 minutes to Representative William Slater.
Representative Slater, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, there's a lot of work to do in K-12 schools, in education all across Tennessee. We've been doing some of that hard work in just the past 3 years that I've been here. Let me share with you some comparisons between what's been taking place in all of Tennessee and then where we are when it comes to Memphis schools. In 2024, third grade proficiency, ELA proficiency in Memphis schools was at 27.4%. Across Tennessee at 41%. Now, I'm not satisfied with 41%. I think that we should continue to strive to increase that, and we have increased that over the past couple of years. 8th grade ELA, Memphis schools, 14.6% proficiency. Can you imagine? Only 14.6% proficiency. Across the state, 29.2% proficiency. Third grade math, 26.4 in Memphis. Tennessee, 41.6. 8th grade math, 14.5%. Across Tennessee, 33.9%. Over twice as much. In fact, if you look at those numbers, over twice as much when it comes to proficiency across Tennessee compared to Memphis City schools. I'll share one more. Algebra, Memphis, 10.3%, and then across Tennessee, 21.8%.
there is a problem in Memphis, Tennessee. I think both caucuses have recognized that. I know that it was recognized when we heard testimony in subcommittee and in education full. Everyone recognizes that there's a problem. I was privileged to hear testimony from Memphians in those committees. In full committee, we had two parents that came and testified, one in favor of this legislation and one opposed. Mr. Randolph testified, and I quote him when he said, "It's time for change. We need to do something in Memphis City schools. We're not taking away our Republican form of government when Memphis legislators come to Nashville and say, we need an oversight board so that something can take place, so that change can occur in Memphis City schools. Our Republican form of government is not damaged. In fact, it's enhanced. That's exactly why we have a legislature. Political subdivisions of our state look to and should look to us as representatives for each of the districts that we represent. Much of the argument during the debate in committee implied that somehow that this legislation before us is akin to the ASD. It has nothing to do with the Achievement School District. A little bit of history has been shared about the ASD, but let me share with you this, that the ASD was born out of federal initiatives. In fact, during the Biden administration, the race to the top, it was the Obama administration, thank you, friend. It was the Obama administration that promised money, and we accepted federal dollars. But can I say this to you? It's not through federal intervention that we're going to solve the problems of Tennessee education. And it's not through federal intervention that we're going to solve the issues in Memphis education. It's come to this body with this bill, and I am.
Thank you. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 3 minutes to the illustrious Chairman Kevin Vaughn.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
We'll see if we can make this illustrious. You know, I was listening to my good friend, Leader Camper, talk about the fact that maybe we should put this off until after the forensic audit, which I think the forensic audit is a great idea. And for many weeks, I was in that camp, mainly because I was looking for, let's get concrete evidence before we try to come in and assist. And let me say this, I understand that if your perspective on this, and this is the perspective of some of my colleagues, is that we're taking punitive action. And that's not necessarily the case because, quite frankly, we don't have any evidence of wrongdoing by the school board, but we have evidence of bad doing. If you look at the test scores and you look at the performance, our K through 12 education, public education system in the city of Memphis is vital not only for Memphians, but for every Tennessean. Because this is something that we have to get right. We've got to turn the ship around in Southwest Tennessee. It's critical for us. It's critical for the future generations. We're doing a disservice to children who do not or are not getting a fair shake. And so for us to come in and offer assistance to an existing board, existing duly elected folks, frankly, I think that's a fine use of our resources. It shows the concern that this body has, that we're willing to go above and beyond for a particular problem district that's not only included in everything we do up here, but also is going to get a little bit of an extra dose with the skill sets that we need to have the ability to propel that district and its students forward. And so what has happened is I have changed my position. I used to think, hey, let's get the forensic audit. Let's see what's going on. Let's address those issues. But I can tell you, us giving another year away while we wait, it's not going to change itself organically. That is not going to be the case. We're not going to suddenly see a 15-year trend turn on a year in 1 year's time without some type of catalyst that provides additional information and additional review of what the duly elected school board is doing. And so, Mr. Bill Sponsor, I am in favor of this measured approach. I don't consider this to be a takeover. I think it's a measured approach of a little bit more resources made available to an existing body, but I would encourage my colleagues to vote for this.
Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After that efficient presentation, I would yield 5 minutes to Chairman Scott Zabicki.
Chairman Zabicki, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, your decision is very simple. We can sit another year and do nothing, and this school system will fail the children another year. I've been here for 7 years, and we have weighed that decision every year I've been up here for 7 years. That means when I got here, there was a child in kindergarten, and now they sit in 6th grade with the results that my friend talked about. And they fall further and further and further behind. We have reached a point in time that enable for Tennessee to be successful in education, we have to have the largest district in the state at least performing on state average. At least. Because if Shelby County schools would perform at the current rates of what state average is, our state average wouldn't be where it is right now. It'd be even higher. My colleagues across the aisle from me who are opposing this legislation, we listened to 25 minutes argue about power, control, a system, and money. This side is arguing about outcomes for children, education for children, the ability to do what those kids want to do in life because they're educated and can make a sound decision in their lives on what they want to do, instead of being relegated to the status quo that's in Memphis right now. It's so bad in Memphis, my colleagues, that principals and parents invite me down to talk about what's going on in their school system, but the teachers and the principals don't want to meet in their schools with me. They want to meet in Jackson for fear of retribution from an overbearing system. The time has come to stand up for the children of Memphis, to stand up with the parents of Memphis, to stand with a county commission that has voted no confidence on a school board. And let's start the process to turn around a school system that once again can lead in Tennessee. It's been done in other parts of the country. I would love to be sitting in the education committee and having conversations about how well Memphis is performing academically. Please stand with the parents of Memphis, stand with these children, and let's end this cycle of repetition over and over and over again. And let's give these kids hope in our largest city in Tennessee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back my time.
Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That concludes the time for the House Republican Caucus.
All right, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the sponsor gets 2 minutes to close if they choose.
Chairman White, recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Speaker and members, and I appreciate all the conversation that's come on this. As I've carried this through 5 committees for the past 4 months, I appreciate listening. I do this from the bottom of my heart because I care greatly about our city. As a former principal and teacher, you develop a love for the young people. And if they are not coming out of K through 12 ready to hit the workforce where they have the skills that they can perform in society, then it doesn't work for them. And the numbers are there for us. I was in an elementary school the other day in the Memphis City Schools. Imagination Library, the Governor's Literacy Council was in there giving away books. The elementary library didn't have any books in there. I'm going, what's going on? Why are we have such oversight on things like this? I care about the young people of our community. And if y'all all got the, I think the placemat the other day, it said that Tennessee is the 7th fastest growing state in the union. But yet Shelby County that I live in, Memphis, lost 2.1%. We lost more residents since 2020 to 2024 than any other county in the nation, not Tennessee, but in the nation. We have to correct an issue, and our education is key to that, to where people want to live there and be a part of that community. That helps the entire state. Most of the populations we know is right here centered in the center of the state. So this change that we're trying to do to address this after many, many years is to go in and actually try to change things for our community. With that, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate it, and I renew my motion.
All right, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 714 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 63, 30 nays, 2 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 714, having received the constitutional majority, everybody declare it passed without objection. The most reconsidered table. Call next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the body is at the heel of the calendar. Item 35, House Bill 33 by Representative Gillespie, relative to pretrial release for certain offenses. Mr. Speaker, Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure what the procedure is here, but I'm trying to send this back to calendar and rules.
All right. Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to send this back to calendar and rules.
With objection, so ordered. Call next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Item 72. Item 72, House Bill 34 by Representative Gillespie and others relative to juvenile records. Mr. Speaker, Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 0221.
Representative Gillespie moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 221, probably seconded with objection, so ordered. Representative Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 0221 on third and final consideration.
Representative Gillespie moves passage of Senate Bill 221 on third and final consideration, probably seconded. Ms. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1 filed as House Amendment 2.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt, defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of committee amendment number 2, probably seconded. Any discussion on amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of committee amendment number 2 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, what this does is it will authorize a court to use juvenile records, including the disposition of a child and evidence in a hearing, in a pretrial hearing, to set a bond. It would create a 5-year look-back period so that this would only apply to adults that were juveniles within the last 5 years. So an example of when this would take into effect and why it would take into effect would be the simple scenario of if a 17-year-old is adjudicated in juvenile court for, say, aggravated assault, and then at age 21, they are arrested as an adult for aggravated assault. That judge or magistrate can look at their juvenile record to see if they've ever done this before, and then they can set the appropriate level of bond. With that, I renew my motion.
Representative Gillespie renews his motion. Any discussion? Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. Sponsor, why the 5 years? Is there any kind of empirical evidence that 5 years is a benchmark?
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, I mean, multiple people presented me multiple numbers, and I met them in the middle.
Representative Hardaway.
So it's just arbitrary?
Representative Gillespie.
I would say that there is strong evidence that would suggest that the longer you remain out of jail or out of trouble, the more likelihood you're probably not going to get in trouble. So I don't think it's arbitrary now.
Representative Hardaway.
So when you say out of trouble, you're saying that if you're 20 and you haven't been in trouble since you were 14, that the juvenile court records don't come into play?
Representative Gillespie.
Yes, that is correct.
Representative Hardaway.
All right, very good. Now, what's in the bill to protect this information? Will this be discussed in open court?
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It would be done exactly the same way this is already done, and defendants in a courtroom and the judges or magistrates determining their bail. I believe most of those are public.
Representative Hardaway.
So there are no protections in this bill?
Representative Gillespie.
This bill does not, thank you, Mr. Speaker, this bill does not speak to that. It's not changing anything other than what is specifically said in the bill.
Representative Hardaway.
If there's reference or identifying information for other juveniles, we know they sometimes get in trouble together. In this record, will that information in context be available to the courts also?
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, that would be protected information because it wouldn't be, I believe that's protected now.
Representative Hardaway.
All right, and so this bill would speak to all of the court proceedings from bond to actual trial, or just to the bond process?
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I stated already, just the bond process.
Representative Hardaway.
All right. And is there, there's also reference to homicides on school grounds and the individual being deceased. Can you go into that for us?
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe that amendment is, that's not in the language of this bill as amended.
Representative Hardaway.
So that's been taken out completely?
Representative Gillespie.
That's what I'm seeing in front of me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes.
Representative Hardaway.
All right, thank you. And any of the medical reports, psychological evaluations, and all of those documents, there's something in place already to protect that type of information, or is it contained in the bill?
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you. There are already protections in place. Again, this bill just deals with what I've stated.
Representative Hardaway.
When you say protections, I want to make sure we're talking the same language here. I'm talking about protection in an adult court. That information is protected differently than in a juvenile court setting. Is that right?
Representative Gillespie.
All right, I'm just going to read to you what my notes say straight from the language of the bill. Judges, probation officers, and defense attorneys can see juvenile records.
Representative Hardaway. All right. Representative Burkhart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question calls their objection. Seeing none, we're on the board. All those in favor of Senate Bill 221 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 73, 22 nays.
Senate Bill 221 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. Most reconsider table. Leader Lambert, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to take up message calendar 3 at this time.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, if I can announce, that does complete that Monday's regular calendar, the big Monday regular calendar, if y'all want to clear that off. Clear that off your desk. House Message Calendar 3, House Bill 99 by Chairman Boso, relative to criminal offenses. Mr. Speaker, on April 22nd, 2025, the Senate substituted House Bill 99 for Senate Bill 685, adopted Amendment 1, and passed House Bill 99 as amended.
Chairman Boso, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is that our colleagues in the other chamber amended the unlawful photography bill that we passed just yesterday. The good news is that the way they amended it was by taking most of Chairman Crawford's Bill HB 403 on unlawful photography, which was not funded, and adding it to the bill that we passed yesterday. So with thanks to Chairman Crawford for his efforts and to our colleagues in the lower chamber, Mr. Speaker, I move to concur in Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Boso moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 1, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
Senate Amendment number 1 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare concurred in without objection. Most reconsider table. Call up next message, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Bill 102 by Chairman Lafferty, relative to sunset laws. Mr. Speaker, on April 22nd, 2025, the Senate refused to recede from its non-concurrence in House Amendment 1 and appointed a conference committee.
Hey, Leader, can you roll this to the Hill, then we'll hopefully catch it up. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to roll to the Hill.
Without objection, roll to the Hill. Call up next message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 132 by Representative Zachary. On April 22nd, 2025, the Senate substituted House Bill 132 for Senate Bill 396, adopted Amendment 1, passed House Bill 132 as amended.
Chairman Zachary, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to concur in Senate Amendment 1.
Deputy Speaker Zachary moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 1. Probably second. Any discussion on the amendment? Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker. And I would ask that all of our sponsors would just give us a short description of what that concurrence is with.
Deputy Speaker Zachary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the language of the bill I described yesterday is actually what the bill is. I left out the portion that Chairman Grills has already passed. So the portion that references no law or rules being suspended that violate the Bill of Rights or Declaration of Rights, that's been removed. The only section that remains is the legislature can terminate a state of emergency at any time through a joint resolution.
Representative Hardaway. All right. Further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 1, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 72, 23 nays.
Senate Amendment number 1 having received a constitutional majority, everybody declare concurred in without objection. Most reconsider table. Call up next message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 979 by Chairman Williams. Mr. Speaker, on April 21st, 2025, the Senate substituted House Bill 979 for Senate Bill 764, adopted Amendments 1 and 2, and passed House Bill 979 as amended.
Chairman Williams, you recognize.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to non-concur on Senate Amendments 1 and 2.
Without objection, we non-concur. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1383 by Representative Harris, relative to local education agencies. Mr. Speaker, on April 22nd, 2025, the Senate substituted House Bill 1383 for Senate Bill 1336, adopted Amendment 1, and passed House Bill 1383 as amended.
Representative Harris, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to concur in Senate Amendment Number 1.
Representative Harris moves to concur. Senate Amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 1, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 92, 3 nays, 2 present, I voted.
Senate Amendment number 1, having received a constitutional majority, everybody declare concurred in without objection. Motion reconsider table. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, we're back to item 2. Item 2, Senate Bill 102 with Chairman Lafferty. Relative to sunset laws, on April 22nd, 2025, the Senate refused to recede from its non-concurrence House Amendment number 1 and appointed a conference committee.
Chairman Lafferty, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to accede to the request of the Senate and ask that a conference committee be appointed to confer with a like committee from the Senate to resolve the differences between the two bodies.
Chairman Lafferty moves to accede to the request of the Senate, ask that a conference committee be appointed to confer with a like committee from the Senate to resolve the differences between the two bodies. Properly seconded. Without objection, motion carries. I appoint the following members: Representatives Lafferty, Reedy, Crawford, and Clemens. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that completes message calendar number 3.
Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to take up regular calendar 2 from Monday.
Without objection, so ordered. Call the first bill, Mr. Clerk. You need to come forward. We don't do it at your desk. Mr. Clark.
Mr. Speaker, there has been the 2 parliamentary inquiries. The first one was the process for minority reports. If a minority report is filed in both houses, signed by at least one member of the conference committee, the process is that the minority report is taken up and disposed of first. And the other question, I'm not sure is parliamentary inquiry, but what legislative day is this? And we're on the 30th legislative day.
All right, Mr. Clerk, call up next bill.
Mr. Speaker, item 1 on House Regular 2 from Monday, April 21st, House Bill 1092 by Chairman Hulsey, relative to federal financial assistance.
Chairman Hulsey, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move passage of House Bill 1092 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Hulsey moves passage, probably second. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 1.
Chairman Hicks, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of Committee Amendment Number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Committee Amendment Number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 2.
Chairman Hicks, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of Committee Amendment Number 2, probably seconded. Any discussion on amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Committee Amendment Number 2 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 3 by Chairman Hulsey, Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Chairman Hulsey, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To explain the amendment.
You have a minute to explain for consideration.
Okay. Thank you. This untimely filed amendment just changes one thing in the bill. Parenthesis E was plugged in instead of D or vice versa, and all that did was correct that technical error.
All right. He moves for consideration. You're the motion, probably second. We're voting for consideration of Amendment Number 3. All those in favor, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 83, non-nays 3, present not voting.
In accordance with Rule 6B, having received the necessary two-thirds vote, the motion to consider Amendment Number 3 prevails. Chairman Hulsey, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for adoption.
Chairman Hulsey moves for adoption of Amendment Number 3. Proper motion, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Chairman Clemens? No. All right. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting Amendment Number 3, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 78, 18 nays, 2 present not voting.
Amendment Number 3 is adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
No further amendments, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Hulsey, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill ensures that when Tennessee state departments want to accept federal money, they follow a clear and consistent process. And it requires departments to notify and sometimes get approval from the legislature before accepting large amounts of federal aid. It also ensures that all federal funds are used the way the state intends, not just how federal agencies suggest. The amendment improves, or the bill improves, the transparency that strengthens oversight and helps protect Tennessee's financial independence. It also keeps lawmakers informed and in control of how federal dollars impact state budgets. And that's the bill.
Chairman Hulsey renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is rife with separation of power issues. I think we all know I don't often, if ever, take the governor's side, but if the governor were to sue us, we would lose. How do you address the separation of powers issues that are inherent within this piece of legislation?
Chairman Hulsey, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The way I view it is the governor, of course, has got control of the executive branch of government. But the legislature, and particularly this House, is who determines what money comes in, what money gets spent, where it goes, and everything tied to finances along with regular lawmaking. So I really don't view it as a crossover between crowding his branch of government versus ours.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would respectfully disagree with your statements. I think the governor is the executive department. And for this body to overstep and put any requirements on those departments or bureaus in the executive branch in this manner contemplated by this legislation, we're going to have serious constitutional issues. Separation of powers is a serious issue, and this oversteps tremendously into the executive branch. And again, I don't like to side with this governor on anything. But again, if he were to challenge this, we would lose. This would get overturned immediately. So I just would love to I'm trying to give you an opportunity because if this goes to court, if he chose to bite that off, I think you might want to lay the foundation for how this doesn't violate the separation of powers, because that's going to come up with regard to legislative intent. Thank you.
Chairman Holsey.
Thank you. I disagree with you, but the issue in particularly of federal money coming into this state, the strings that are attached to it sometimes are antithetical to things we in policy we have instituted in this House. I do think that puts it in our ballpark, and we have a responsibility to act.
Chairman Clemens, anything?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that phrase strings are often used, but there is such thing as a supremacy clause, and there are also such things as federal laws that require compliance in the state of Tennessee. And for us to I don't think those give us grounds to overstep into the jurisdiction of the executive branch to the point whether or not the decisions can be made by departments or others to accept federal funds. And there's a reason for that. It's to give them the independence, and we have a duty as a body to form a budget and pass a budget, obviously, with consideration of those funds that are accepted. But us overstepping and telling the governor of the executive branch whether they can accept them or not, and how they have to go about it and setting up a whole process, that's inherently problematic. So just want to raise that concern. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Holsey.
Thank you. I renew my motion.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Chairman, for a long time serving on the Budget Committee and Finance Committee for years, and I was trying to bring this up the other day, but the term kept evading me, around expansions. And generally, when a department is accepting funding, they'll come before the body, the committee, and say, these are expansion requests. We get a chance to look at it, debate it, talk about it. We don't get to vote on it per se, because the department has already done its due diligence, F&A has done its due diligence, the budget director has done its due diligence, and it's a way of informing and keeping the legislature informed on what's going on. So what this is doing is putting some practices in front of that process. And the problem I have, and I've expressed this with both chairmen, I didn't get to you, so hopefully I'm not hitting you off on the side here. When we do things like this, when we're taking power away from the administration to act, to do, we did this to Haslam, and it was horrible. We took his power away from him, brought it to the General Assembly, and immediately it politicized the issue. And we are still dealing with that today because it was politicized when it gets here. That's what I see happening with this legislation. It gets in this body, it gets political, and then we are blindsided. We have blinders on the real issues of what they're trying to accomplish. Eventually, agencies are just going to refuse to even apply for some of these grants. See, right now, the process works. It's an agreement, and I think that's something we can continue to do. And we've made process over the years. When Chairman Sargent was here, and he was the chairman, God rest his soul, he had his process. We abide by the process. And I will say, Chairman Hazelwood changed it a little bit in consultation with the administration, and we had more light, more visibility. They came before the committees. We had more input. And I just think the same thing can happen in this case without changing the law. The question I have with respect to the budget that we've already passed, on page 24, section 4, it talks about the appropriations that we've already made, we've already passed. I think this bill may have an impact on that. Secondly, on page, I want to say 70 something, it's a similar thing. There's two sections in here because we've already done the language, we've already said it's going to happen. This, I think, is going to impede upon that. So my question to you, either of the chairmen, what impact do you think this bill is going to have on the appropriations bill that we've already passed?
Chairman Halsey.
I'm going to yield to Chairman Hicks, if that's all right.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Leader Camper. I'll take a stab at trying to answer your question. And right now, with the budget document that we passed, there is nothing in there that I know of that would cause any issues whatsoever. And of course, not only has the finance team looked at it, but our legal staff has looked at it as well. And so I see no conflicts between these two bills.
Leader Camper.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for that answer. So in the next ensuing year, and after this, we pass this budget, come July, we'll start preparing for next year's budget. If there's some things then that the governor is going to give his direction to the departments, what I need you to do, what I need you to be looking at, this bill will affect that process. Do you see?
Chairman Hicks.
As it
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I still don't see a conflict with that process and with the way we currently do it. And I don't see any that will change at all if this bill passes.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And do you think that by adopting, if we pass this bill, that it's going to put additional requirements, hoops to jump through on both the administration and our staff, Office of Budget Analysis, the budget department and the administration is going to add these extra things for them to do?
Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Leader Camper, what I will say is that this piece of legislation will give more oversight. I think it will give more oversight not only to this body, but also the administration as well, to make sure that we're vetting these dollars as they come down. And we're making sure not only are we receiving them, but also that they're going to where they should and that they're satisfying the will and the policies of this body.
Leader Lambert.
Move previous question.
Previous question has been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 1092 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 69, 23 nays, 1 present, not voting.
House Bill 1092, having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 24 by Representative Hemmer and others relative to wildlife resources. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Hemmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 14.
Representative Hemmer moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 14, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Hemmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 14 on third and final consideration.
Representative Hemmer moves passage of Senate Bill 14 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as Senate Amendment number 1. Move to withdraw.
Chairman Hicks, withdraw amendment number 1. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 2.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption committee amendment number 2. Properly seconded. Any discussion on amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of committee amendment number 2 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopt. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Hemmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill would increase penalties for trespassing from Class C to Class B misdemeanor fine for violations from $50 to up to $500 as decided by a judge. I started working on this issue a few years ago, and I got a trail cam pic of my turkey lease showing a gentleman who was not in the lease carrying out a turkey. It was very violating feeling, has a lot of safety issues with that. Thankfully, TWA was able to find the individual and deal with the situation, but I came to learn that trespassing has become a very big issue for landowners. With lots of repeat offenders and suspects, according to TWA law enforcement. This problem's gotten so bad because the penalty has not changed in statute since 1961, and the fines are currently $50. Also adding to that is now that there's a lot of cell camera technology with these trail cams, and so now people are able to get the pictures of the individuals and know when they're getting trespassed on it. So this bill is about protecting private property rights. It'll help deter trespassing. TDRA can still issue warning citations, and we'll plan to do so. And also appreciate the groups that came out in support of this legislation, including the Tennessee Farm Bureau, Boone and Crockett Club, Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation, Safari Club International, and Tennessee Wildlife Federation. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Hammer renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor, Senate Bill 14 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 73, 8 nays, 10
Senate-
present not voting.
Senate Bill 14, I received a constitutional majority. I hereby declare it passed without objection. Most reconsider table. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 972, Representative McCalman, relative to motor vehicles. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative McCalman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1068.
Representative McCalman moves substitute and form Senate Bill 1068, properly second without objection. So ordered. Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1068 on third and final consideration.
Representative McCalman moves passage of Senate Bill 1068 on third and final consideration, properly second. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Commerce Committee Amendment Number 1, same as Senate Amendment Number 1.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Confidently, we're going to move to withdraw this one.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Chairman Vaughn, next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Commerce Committee Amendment Number 2, same as Senate Amendment Number 2.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
I can spot a trend, Mr. Speaker. We're going to move to withdraw this one as well.
Without objection, amendment number 2 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 1, filed as House Amendment 3.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of Commitment Number 3, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commitment Number 3 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 2, filed as House Amendment 4.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of Commitment Number 4, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commitment Number 4 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways and Means Committee Amendment Number 3, filed as House Amendment 5.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption of Commitment Number 5, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commitment Number 5 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative McCalman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is for all intents and purposes, a cleanup bill for the Motion Act that we passed last year. It has to deal with some signage cleanup language. We did add in last year when we passed the bill, we neglected to keep in mind with the QR code readers. We addressed that in the parking garages. We do allow for a provision for booting under a certain circumstance on private property with licensure and bonding. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I will renew my motion and stand ready for questions.
Representative McCallum renews the motion. Any discussion on the bill? Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can you elaborate on the exception for booting on private property? That had been a concern of mine I'd raised in committee. Can you elaborate on what exactly that exception is?
Representative McCallum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman Clemens, essentially it allows for, again, on private property where a company owns it, they can put a boot on it. It does have to be an electronic quick release boot. And they have to have a 24-hour contact number to be available in the event that that boot does not fall off. Again, they do have to have licensure and they do have to have a $250,000 bond.
Chairman Clemens.
Do we know the cost of that licensure?
Representative McCallum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Off the top of my head, I do not.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1068 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 88, 17 nays, 2 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 1068 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. Most reconsider table. Larry Lambert, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to take up today's House Regular Calendar 2.
Without objection, so ordered. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 938 by Representative Capley relative to hunting with bait. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Capley, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 869.
Representative Capley moves substitute form Senate Bill 869, probably second without objection. So ordered. Representative Capley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 869 on third and final consideration.
Representative Capley moves passage of Senate Bill 869 on third and final consideration, probably second. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Agricultural and Natural Resources Committee Amendment Number 1, same as Senate Amendment Number 1.
Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as Senate amendment. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Capley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, Senate Bill 869 would create a bait privilege license for hunting over bait in the great state of Tennessee. That's what it does.
Representative Capley.
And I renew my nose.
Renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 869, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member vote, as any member wish to change their vote. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 76, 18 nays, 2 present, unvoted.
Senate Bill 869 received constitutional majority. Everybody declare passed without objection. Most for reconsider table. Lear Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to take up House Consent Calendar 3 at this time.
Without objection, so ordered. Chair Lady Moody, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Consent 3. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Forgive me. I move passage of House Consent Calendar number 3 on third and final consideration. in keeping with Rule 50.
Chair moves passage of the consent. Chair moves passage of the consent calendar. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, any objections been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no objections filed.
Anyone seeking recognition on the consent calendar? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of the consent calendar, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 95, no nays.
Having received a constitutional majority, I declare consent calendar passed without objection. Most reconsider is tabled. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to stand in a brief recess until 3:30 p.m. today.
Without objection, recess till 3:30 p.m. today.